Denver, Colorado, and tonight you'll see an explosion of offensive talent as the Denver Broncos meet the Los Angeles Raiders. The thin mountain air will be filled with footballs as Jay Schroeder makes his debut with the Los Angeles Raiders. Schroeder was unhappy in Washington after losing the starting job to Doug Williams in a demotion that followed 3 years with the Redskins that earned him the reputation of the Mad Bomber. A Pro Bowler in 1986, he threw it long and he threw it often. But 3 weeks ago, he was traded to Los Angeles. And tonight, he'll showcase his talents in the silver and black of the Raiders. Schroeder's receiving core is truly awesome. It includes Willie Gault and veteran James Lofton. The scorching speed of Willie Gault is in perfect character with the Raiders' big play offense. And James Lofton, at age 32 and 7 times a Pro Bowler at Green Bay, is off on another great season, averaging over 22 yards a catch in his first 3 games. But there's new blood in the Raiders this year. Tim Brown, the Heisman Trophy winner out of Notre Dame, has brought the Raiders an added threat at wide receiver, as well as a kickoff return sensation. He's already run back a kickoff for a touchdown this year. He'll be looking for more tonight. And another Heisman Trophy winner, the classy Marcus Allen, is perhaps the most complete of all football players. Allen is a superb receiver from the backfield and a dominating force in the ground game. Lighting up the night for the Broncos is quarterback John Elway. The finest athlete playing quarterback in the NFL today, Elway can detonate the Denver offense from anywhere on the field. He will run the ball, he will pass the ball, whatever it takes to get the job done. Elway and Schroeder, it'll be anything but grinded out football tonight. But this game's most compelling story is that of Tony Dorsett, who tonight looks to stride further into the NFL record book. He needs to gain 97 yards to pass Tim Brown as the second leading rusher in NFL history. Then only Walter Payton will lie ahead. But tonight, you see a man whose career most certainly at some future date will include the Hall of Fame. Tonight, the Raiders and the Broncos on ABC. Denver, Colorado on a beautiful fall evening. And there are not many people in this city who are not aware that the Denver Broncos tonight will meet the Los Angeles Raiders. You've heard of Bronco Mania? Well, it still reigns here in Denver, Colorado. Mile High Stadium sold out for the 19th consecutive season. Hello again, everyone. I'm Frank Gifford, and welcome to Mile High Stadium, where tonight 2 longtime rivals in the AFC Western Division will meet, the Denver Broncos and, of course, the Los Angeles Raiders. Both come into tonight with troubled beginnings for this 1988 season. They are 1-2, but if they win tonight, they move into a tie, and I guess you could call that ultimate parity here in the AFC Western Division. The Broncos have changed little over their Super Bowl team. They, of course, have gone to the Super Bowl for the past 2 years. They lost convincingly to Washington and to the Giants. And they have to be wondering, what do we have to do? What do we have to change? What do we have to do to win it? And I don't mean the division or the conference. They mean it all, the Super Bowl. Meanwhile, the Raiders, who dominated much of pro football for nearly 2 decades, have not done so over the past couple of years. They will make a major change tonight. They will start Jay Schroeder at quarterback, recently acquired from the Washington Redskins, and down goes Steve Berline, the youngster out of Notre Dame. But they do have problems. Jay Schroeder has an outstanding cast of personnel offensively. You can look either way and find a great receiver. He has a great running back in Marcus Allen, but he has to be wondering about an offensive line that gave up 9 sacks to Steve Berline a week ago, and maybe Allie might be wondering, maybe I should have stayed in Washington.
Yeah, after
9 sacks in 1 game.
You know, overall, Frank, the Raiders are in a very strange place right now. This is an organization as proud as any in professional sports. They love to tell you about their record over the last quarter of century. They love to tell you about pride and poise and commitment to excellence, their bywords. Yet what's happened to this team? You go back to late November of 1986, encompassing all of last season and this year. In their last 22 games, the Raiders are 6-16. Now, to put that in perspective, that is the worst record over that period of time in the American Football Conference, and it's a record equaled by, of all teams, the Atlanta Falcons, a team which is now synonymous with futility. So where have the Raiders gone? If they were on a cruise, they'd have gone from the captain's table to steerage. And right now, they're at least trying to get back to a stateroom as they try to turn things around, and they hope that Jay Schroeder is the man who can do it. We'll find out about the new Schroeder's Raiders tonight. What about the Denver Broncos, meanwhile? They're 1-2. Can they get back to the Super Bowl for a 3rd straight time, Dan?
That's pretty good stuff, Al. Yeah, can they get back? Well, that's the question everyone in the AFC certainly would like to know, including Dan Reeves. You know, this is a club that has been in the Super Bowl the last 2 years, AFC champions, and they've been there because they're a team that hustles and a team that plays with a great deal of desire. And for the first time in several years, last week, Dan Reeves questioned that effort in a 20-13 loss to the Chiefs in Kansas City. He thought it was a sloppily played game, without a lot of effort. Don't look for the Broncos to do that 2 weeks in a row. How are they going to win tonight? Well, someone offensively has to do more than John Elway, and they have to get someone else involved. Look for that guy to be Tony Dorsett. And defensively, it's very simple. They have to pressure Jay Schrader. They cannot let him play pitch and catch with that talented group of receivers, and it's going to be hard to do without Carl Mecklenburg.
And it won't be long before we see Schrader in action, because as Jay waits on the sideline, he will take command for the first time since joining the Raiders. Some people thought that he would get into the game last week against the Rams, but he didn't. He was on the sideline the entire way as Steve Berline went the route. Meanwhile, Chris Barr to kick off for the Raiders on this beautiful evening with Ken Bell and Ricky Nattiel to receive for the Broncos, and a good kick, and that's something that Barr hasn't been doing. But in the light air here in Denver, he boots it through the end zone, and so the Broncos will take over at their own 20-yard line. And of course that means John Elway, and the Broncos have been doing this now this season. They have been huddling on the sideline and not in a regular formation as they approach the line of scrimmage in situations such as this, and that way the defense cannot set up for them as they break from their huddle and come to the line of scrimmage. This way they come just from the sideline, as they do here with Dorsett and Winder in the backfield. Nattiel and Johnson are the wideouts, and Clarence Kay is back after a 2-week absence. And they have Steve Sewell in the game. He starts in the slot to the right on 1st and 10, and that's Sewell going in motion. And they give it to Dorsett, and they want him to carry the ball more tonight. Tony has averaged 14 carries a game in the first 3 and wants more action. And he'll work behind these linemen: Juriga, Bishop, the Pro Bowler, Billy Bryan back after last season's injury, Karts at right guard, and Ken Lanier at right tackle. They're missing Stephon Humphreys. He's on injured reserve. Elway leads them up to the 23-yard line. 2nd down and 7. With both Johnson and Nattiel split to the left. Elway looked that way, then comes back to the right, hits Sewell a yard short of a first down. Matt Millen comes up to make the tackle, and it will be 3rd down and 1. The defense for the Raiders, and they're a little banged up. Up front, Long, Pickell, and Wise in their 3-4. As far as the linebackers are concerned, Milt McCall replaces McKenzie on the outside left side. Millen and Robinson in the middle, and the veteran Rod Martin, right outside linebacker. Price is a rookie, and Haynes, the longtime veteran, with Turan and Anderson, the safeties. They are -3 starters in the secondary, including Van McElroy, who's hurt. And that's Johnson, Van Johnson, who lines up in the backfield on 3rd and 1. And Elway throws to Vance Johnson, and he has a first down as he got to the 32-yard line before he was pushed back by Dennis Price. So he's playing with a bad foot. It's listed as a dislocated toe. He told me before the game it's more up in the foot. And he has it tightly wrapped and makes his first catch of the night here.
Right away, it tells you the confidence in John Elway. 3rd down and 1. You would suspect, at least in the early going, they'd put the ball on the ground. And they just go right up on top, get the first down. They believe in him as much as they believe in the run.
Double tight end set up. Dan Reeves said the Broncos will use less shotgun tonight. Dorsett, big hole, exploits it out to the 38-yard line for a gain of close to 8. Jerry Robinson, the inside linebacker, number 57, in on the tackle. Robinson in his 10th year out of UCLA.
And as we talk about Tony Dorsett and his chase of Jim Brown tonight, Frank, I know that over the years you and I have talked about it. One of the things we admire most about Tony Dorsett, his ability to run between the tackles. He's not a very big man physically, and yet between the tackles he runs the ball as hard as a 240-pounder.
And doing it now in his 13th season, 12th season. That's amazing.
2nd and a long 3 from the 38-yard line. Dorsett's 3rd carry of the night. He gets by Howie Long and has the first down and a lot more, and he's finally pulled out of bounds at the 42 of Los Angeles. Jerry Robinson makes the tackle, and so he continues his pursuit of Jim Brown in the runner-up spot all time. And there he is coming in, number 3 behind Peyton and Jim Brown.
And doing what Dan Reeves hoped he could do and get to the outside. And if you want to have any running back get to the outside, it's got to be a Tony Dorsett, because when he cuts back, He turns on the speed, and he still has that little afterburner even after all these years.
So the Broncos, who began this drive at their own 20, the opening drive of the game, Dorsett again, and he is stopped at the 39-yard line. He picks up 3. Jerry Robinson is in on his 3rd consecutive tackle, and Dorsett now has carried 4 times for 32 yards.
Interesting that they're attacking the left side of the Raider defense, going right at Jerry Robinson and right at Howie Long, right behind Ken Lanier, their right tackle, and Keith Kartz, their right guard. We'll have to follow this during the course of the evening and see if they're going to attack this guy, one of the great defensive linemen of the 80s, Howie Long. Pro Bowler every year.
2nd and 7. They move Mobley over to the right side. Dorsett and Winder are the running backs. Elway, his 2nd pass of the night, is, I believe, tipped and picked off at the 25-yard line by Mike Haynes. Haynes out to midfield and then tackled by Elway at the 47-yard line, and a flag is down. Latil was the intended receiver. There's a flag down on the run back at the 40-yard line. Dick Hantak is the referee tonight.
Someone up front definitely tipped the ball, Al. One of the linebackers underneath, or someone, got a hand on the football. Probably it was one of the linebackers taking a short drop.
Jerry Robinson had made 3 straight tackles, and it may be Robinson whose hand got on the ball. Elway now arguing with the side judge.
Will be 15 additional yards, 1st down.
The penalty was on the run back. There's a 15-yard penalty that takes it to the 32, 1st down, Raiders.
Let's watch it here. That's Jerry Robinson, number 57, and it is Robinson that tips the ball. Just a slant-in pattern to Ricky Natil, and Mike Haynes, well, he's certainly no stranger to making an interception. Heads up the sidelines, and let's see if we can pick up where the penalty came in. Now, it was somewhere out of our camera range.
Schrader takes his first snap now as a Raider at the 31-yard line. Allen goes in motion. The sole setback is Smith, and Schrader on a quarterback draw or a busted play. Take your pick. Gets to the 20-yard line. Now, they talked about holding him out last week until he became more familiar with the game plan. What was that? Jay Schrader, 24-7, and that's the reason Al Davis went out and got him, the winning record.
I don't believe it was a broken play. That's a quarterback draw, and what a surprise. First play out of the box to come with the quarterback draw, but no question. They set up the blocking. He drops back, takes a look at it, finds the opening, gets the 1st down.
It's an injury-racked offensive line. We'll detail that as we proceed. Meanwhile, the Raiders at the Denver 20 after the interception, 1st and 10. Runs into his own man and then is dumped at the 25-yard line by Dennis Smith, who missed last week's game in Kansas City with a hamstring pull. Back in the lineup and gets the tackle here. Take a look now at this Denver defense, masterminded by Joe Collier with Gilbert, Cragen, and Townsend up front. We're also going to see Sean Knight on the nose tonight. Fletcher, Klosterman, Dennison inside, and Ryan outside. And, of course, Mecklenburg is hurt. Haynes and Castile are the corners. Smith and Harden are the safeties. There is Joe Collier, who on 2nd down and 15 sends in his nickel now with Randy Robbins, the 5th defensive back. Marcus Allen gets tackled at the 22-yard line. Simon Fletcher reaching around to bring him down. The ball is at the 23-yard line. It will be 3rd down and 12.
Simon Fletcher, normally a linebacker in their nickel situation, gets down, plays the defensive end. There effectively takes on the block of fullback Steve Smith, gets in and make the play. And how about the way that the Raiders are starting off conservatively here with Jay Schrader? I think it's a smart move. Let him get some snaps, let him get a few hits under his belt before he asks him to fill the air with footballs.
3rd and 12. They have 4 receivers. And make it 5 now as both Allen and Christensen go into the slot. Schrader out of the shotgun.
And keep in mind, he didn't use the shotgun in Washington.
Schrader throws, has it picked off by Fletcher. And so each team begins with an interception. Fletcher tackled at the 15-yard line. Lofton, the intended receiver.
Simon Fletcher, they moved him from defensive end a year ago to linebacker because Danny Reeves wanted to get a bigger defense. We saw him a moment ago, Dan, from a down position, make the stop. Now he drops into the pass. Good athlete.
Well, he starts from a down position that time as well. He's actually lined up as a defensive end. Simon Fletcher was off to the side and dropped back into pass coverage and makes the play. So some kind of versatility here by Simon Fletcher. From a defensive end, takes on a fullback and makes the play, then drops into coverage and makes an interception.
Battle between Schrader and Elway, two fellows who faced each other twice as high schoolers in Southern California. Begins with an interception from both, and now Elway leads the Broncos up to the 14-yard line. And again, Denver, on each change of possession, huddles along the sideline until the ball is ready for play. And then they come out to the line of scrimmage, as is the case here, and begin this drive from the 13-yard line. Tony Dorsett looking for a block from Winder. Winder laid down the block, but Mike Wise was the other man involved, and he makes the tackle.
Let's look at the interception again. Remember on second down, we saw Fletcher out here. This is Simon Fletcher here. Watch him drop back into coverage as the Raiders flood the zone. Faking the pass rush, taking that one step forward, then dropping back a good 15 yards and moving over in front to make a play. Now that's asking a lot of a linebacker to play defensive end and play the run as well as he did the time before and then get back in coverage and make an interception like that. Versatility.
2nd and 10 from the 13 as the Broncos come up in the eye this time. Elway going deep for Johnson, makes the catch at the 50-yard line. Johnson in a foot race. He's got that bad toe, and so he's not as fast as he normally would be, but still gets all the way down to the 1-yard line. Eddie Anderson, who was a replacement player last year, and Dennis Price, a 5th-round rookie with the coverage as Johnson comes limping away, but after big damage has been done.
Great timing by Elway once again. It was Johnson picking up the double coverage in a full fly. Elway will get the pressure. He almost comes out of the pocket. Right there, he almost runs the ball. He sees that Johnson is breaking clear. Throws the ball underneath, and Johnson comes back inside 2 defenders and takes it. And another look at it here. He gets the double coverage. The ball's in the air. He reads it back to the inside, comes down with it, and then it's a foot race. It was Dennis Price and Eddie Anderson on the double coverage, but that toe is hurting him.
1st and goal from the 1, and Elway is stopped short of the goal line. The Broncos have been extremely proficient when they get down deep into enemy territory in scoring.
That'll go down as a long completion for Elway, but it was Vance Johnson who made it happen. That ball was underthrown, could have been picked off. He came back and got it and turned it into the big gainer.
Actually, Eddie Anderson, the safety, number 33, that's his play all the way. And just a 3rd-year guy, he misplayed that badly. He made a play for the ball going to the outside, allowing Johnson to come back to the middle field. Free safety can't let that happen.
They missed Van McElroy.
2nd and goal. They send Sewell in motion to the right, give the ball to Tony Dorsett, and he powers in for the touchdown. For the 20th consecutive time that they've moved inside the enemy 3-yard line, they score a touchdown. They're almost impossible to stop down deep as Dorsett racks up another one, number 89, and he passes Don Maynard, the Jet wide receiver.
Watch on the screen here, number 54, Keith Bishop, pull to his right, turn up through the hole. Lanier and Karts with down blocks, and Tony Dorsett just keeping the legs driving and pumping. Follows his left guard, the Pro Bowler, into the end zone. Again, Tony Dorsett not afraid to put his head down, lower his shoulder to pick up the tough yardage inside.
Carlos, who hasn't missed a kick this year, either an extra point or a field goal, splits the upright. So he's 8 for 8 in extra points, 4 for 4 in field goal attempts this season. And thanks to Johnson and Dorsett taking it in, the Denver Broncos, with 7:15 to play in the first quarter, lead the LA Raiders 7-0.
Through the years, one that really stands out in the playoffs, 1974, Miami ahead by 5, 26 seconds left. Ken Stabler, as he goes down, gets off the pass. Somehow Clarence Davis makes the catch, and the Raiders beat the Miami Dolphins 28-26. Those miracle finishes, a staple of the Raiders through the 70s and early 80s.
as they get set to receive the kick. That's the Heisman Trophy winner out of Notre Dame, Tim Brown. And the kick comes in the direction of Steve Strahan in the corner of the end zone, and he downs it there. And so the Raiders now take possession for the second time with Jay Schrader coming out to the 20-yard line. Al Davis was saying the other day that he doubts that Schrader will ever lead the league in a lot of statistical categories, but he said, I got him for one reason. I looked at that one-loss record, 24-7, and that, of course, is from the man who made famous the phrase, just win, baby.
Well, when he was starting for the Redskins, he was not a high-percentage passer, but he could beat you in a lot of ways, and he did it with big plays with the Redskins. They move around, too.
They come up in the eye at the 20-yard line. Marcus Allen is the tailback, back of Steve Smith, the burly fullback. And the fake draw. Good protection, and it's caught by Smith out of the 23-yard line. He's stopped there by Castile, wrapped up by Castile and Dennison. Smith is out of Penn State in his second season. Of course, this is a temporary job because you know who comes along in about 4 weeks, a fellow by the name of Bo, last name Jackson.
Just what the Raiders need, more good athletes offensively.
Shanahan, there he is, the youngest coach in the league. He just turned 36 last month.
But only Shula started out as a head coach in this league younger than Shanahan. Don Shula started out at 33 in Baltimore.
2nd and 7 from the 23-yard line. Marcus Allen. He takes it to the 24-yard line. Sean Knight, number 99, and Rick Dennison, 55, in on the tackle. Knight coming off an interesting story. The Saints' #1 draft choice last year, but a disappointment there. Gregory was a disappointing #1 pick for Denver this year, so the two made a swap.
And that was a trade that really didn't surprise anyone in New Orleans. Remember, we were down there during the preseason, and they were telling us how Sean Knight was just not living up to the #1 draft choice expectations that they had for him in New Orleans, and it wasn't a surprise at all to anyone down there that he was sent packing.
Shotgun on 3rd down and 5, and Tim Brown is in. They send him out into the pattern, and Schrader gets sacked at the 17-yard line. Dennis Smith on the safety blitz puts the pressure on, gets the sack, and forces the punt in the sea of orange.
And Smith missed last week with a pulled hamstring, and it gives you an idea about the Denver Broncos. They move people around so much, you never quite know where they come from. Number 49 is Dennis Smith, right up the gut. They fail to pick him up, and Schrader has no chance at all.
Gossage punt fielded by Ricky Nattiel at the 26-yard line, and it's a 10-yard run back to the 36. And so the Broncos will start there after the tackle by Stephon Adams. 5:24 left in the first quarter, 7-0 Denver. The Snow Goose, Carl Mecklenburg, the great linebacker, fractured that thumb on the very last play of the game last week against Kansas City.
He changes what Joe Collier, the defensive coordinator, can do with the Denver Broncos. They could send him from any spot on the field, and he changes things dramatically for them defensively.
Broncos ahead 7-0. 5:24 to play first quarter, and from the 36-yard line, Elway rifles one into the hands of Ricky Nattiel, who makes the catch for a first down out at the 47-yard line. And Elway has to be licking his lips. We mentioned the problems in the Raiders secondary. Normally they'd have Terry McDaniel and Lionel Washington at the corners and Van McElroy at a safety. They're all hurt and out.
But if your choice is between Mike Haynes on one side and a rookie and Dennis Price on the other, I think John Elway is going to take the rookie every time. And that time going against Dennis Price, number 38, and staying away from Mike Haynes. And I don't blame John Elway at all. Haynes already with 1 interception today.
First and 10 at the 47-yard line. Tony D gets into L.A. territory as he crosses the 50, and Eddie Anderson comes up from his safety spot to stop him. It'll be second down. And a funny thing, we were talking to Herschel Walker a couple of weeks ago, and you guys were there, and we asked him his reaction when Dorsett got traded. He said he was saddened. He was saddened by the reaction of the Dallas fans, because instead of saying thanks for the memories, they pretty much said good riddance.
Well, Herschel understands the nature of the business, and he knows that someday that could be and may be him. And that's, sometimes you don't appreciate what you had until you lose it.
This is Sammy Winder, who used to be the featured running back. Now he's the fullback, and he takes it to the 38-yard line, and Stacy Turan makes the tackle.
Winder has led these Broncos for 5 years in rushing, and you wonder how a player like Winder handles somebody coming in like Dorsett. He's handled it very well. Obviously, he's going to have a much more limited role than he's had in the past.
But how many running backs are there in this league that would be flattered to share the same backfield with Tony Dorsett? We're not talking about Hamburger just showing up and some coach playing favoritism and putting him on the field.
First down from the 38-yard line, and now Winder becomes the blocker for Dorsett, who picks up 3 as Tony takes it to the 35-yard line, and Jerry Robinson gets credit for his 4th tackle.
They may not have loved Tony Dorsett in Dallas, but they certainly have taken to him here in Denver. He has his own television show. He'll be on right after us here on our ABC affiliate, Channel 9 here in Denver, with the Denver Huddle, and then he precedes us on every Monday night during the course of the season. And they have about 10,000 Huddle hankies here in the stadium tonight that they passed out in honor of this man.
That graphic right up to date, 56 more yards to surpass the great Jim Brown for second place. And Sammy Winder to the 27. You saw that graphic that said he's never averaged 4 yards a carry in 6 prior seasons. This season he is, because they're all looking at Dorsett, and that opens bigger holes for Sammy Winder when he carries the ball.
And the start of this ball game, if you're a Raider fan, has to look reminiscent of their game last week with the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams just took it to the Raiders defensively last week, carving out some huge holes. And look at this advantage in offensive output so far. And right now, the Raiders defense clearly back on their heels, confused.
At the 27-yard line, 1st and 10. Toss to Winder, cuts it back inside, and Sammy takes it down to the 22-yard line for a gain of close to 5. With 1 minute and 50 seconds to play in the quarter, and a little shoving match going on.
And there goes
and Keith Karts.
And there goes the late flag. And I saw a hand on a face mask, and you're just not going to get away with that. This is the second time in a couple of weeks we've seen players getting in a fight that reach up and grab somebody's face mask, and that is going to draw the flag every time. And that time I think it's Matt Millen. Go ahead, get in a disagreement, say whatever you want to say, but don't put your paws on the guy's face. Not unless you want to march your team back a little bit.
Dick Hancock.
Face mask, defense, number 55, penalized half the distance, first down.
I love the guy's intensity. Matt Millen plays this game the way it's supposed to be played. Now that time, he's locked up on Keith Karts, number 72, and you can see the left hand has the face mask as he pulls him down, but I really think the infraction came after the play when he got in a confrontation with Karts and went ahead and grabbed his face mask again, because that flag came way after the play.
It did look like Karts had a handful of jersey there too, Dan.
It's 1st and 10 from just outside the 10. They conceivably could get a first down without a touchdown, and Tony Dorsett cuts it back and gets wrapped back at the 6 as Eddie Anderson gives him a shot. Anderson was a replacement player last year, and you might recall when we did a Monday night game in here during the strike, he was the man who shattered several of Steve Watson's ribs.
And Watson did not play for a long time. He was out for at least 6 weeks, as I recall, maybe longer.
And in fact, Watson is hurt again now and on injured reserve. At the 6 now, 2nd down and about 5.5. Again, they can get a first down inside the 1.
Time for the Raiders defense to come up with a big play or they're in trouble.
Natil is in motion. And Tony Dorsett powers to the 1-yard line. So it's going to be 3rd down and about 4 inches for a first down and a yard for a touchdown.
Well, it would appear that the Denver Broncos are responding to head coach Dan Reeves' tongue lashing about the way they played in Kansas City last week. He was not happy at all about their effort or their intensity. He thought that the Chiefs were far more physical than the Broncos last week, and night and day. This is certainly a different ball club tonight.
Elway is looking at the clock and asking Reeves, do you want us to run a play? They don't have to, and so they will wait. They will let the time run off as the 45-second clock is 2 seconds behind the game clock. The crowd at that end doesn't like it very much, but they sure love it in the other bleachers. They're coming their way. End of the first quarter. 7-0 Denver. And we'll be back in Denver after this message and a word from your local station. Start the second quarter. Denver 3rd down and a half yard for a first and a yard for a touchdown. At the 1. Sewell goes in motion. The Raiders come across the line and the flag stopped the play before the inception of the play. So Dorsett goes into the end zone, but that means nothing at all.
Boy, and John Elway, they call it a hard count. The inflection of the voice. I didn't see anybody for Denver twitch up front. Let's see if they did. But he brought off, I'd say, a good half dozen of the Raiders.
If it's half the distance to the goal line, that's probably going to be enough for a first down. That's the significance here.
It's going to be close, Al. Going to be very, very close to a first down.
Encroachment, defense, there was no snap. Encroachment takes place prior to the snap. Penalize half the distance to the goal line. 1st and goal.
It is. It's enough that half the distance, that half yard is enough for a first down. And now the Broncos, for the 21st consecutive time, will attempt to score when they get inside the opponent's 3. They are unstoppable down here.
That hard count you referred to, Dan, is always very timely by John Elway, too. You always get it from John when he has short yardage, looking for the first down, looking for an offside in a very selective situation.
Those figures, of course, go back to last season. 1st and goal, Sewell in motion. And he serves as a lead blocker for Dorsett, and TD has another TD.
Why not? 50 yards in the first quarter rushing tonight. Why not let him cap it off with a touchdown? And this is nothing fancy. Lead block at the point of attack by Sewell. Then Winder out front. And when he has to get in, leg drive gets him the extra yard, Frank.
Good read by Tony. That was designed to go inside. Winder kicking out on the force man. Dorsett saw that he could get the necessary yardage for the touchdown. Did it on his own.
It's amazing as Carles attempts the extra point. All last season, Dorsett scored 2 touchdowns in his final year with the Cowboys. He's been here for 3 weeks plus a quarter, and he's already scored 4 as a Bronco. And with 4 seconds having gone by in the second quarter, the Broncos lead 14-0.
And as much as you praise Tony Dorsett, you have to understand, too, that when the Cowboys traded him to Denver, it turned loose Herschel Walker. He was inhibited down there. Actually, it was a good deal for both of them. Sad, perhaps, that Tony is not going to wind up a career where he played 11 years, but it has made a better situation for both of them. That play, as you can see, designed to be taken inside. Dorsett reads to the outside. Not that he can get a lot of yardage, but he was reading the goal line.
It's funny how the Denver Broncos, I think in the eyes of the Raiders, are a team that really uses a lot of junk plays, a lot of finesse, a lot of counters, reverses, things like that. Elway rolls. Here in the early stages of this game, here we're early in the second quarter, has really done it playing power football against the Raiders. They've been slamming it up between the tackles, mixing it up well, and they have really disoriented the Raider defense.
But could that have anything to do with the fact that Mike Shanahan is now, of course, the head coach of the Raiders and the offensive coordinator for the Broncos for the past 4 years, and there he is. I mean, why fool around? They know pretty much what you're going to do. He certainly knows that Denver offense. He coached it as a coordinator for 3 years.
Carlos, his kick is 8 yards deep in the end zone, and Tim Brown will not run this one out. And so now the Raiders, with Jay Schrader at the helm, come out to the 20-yard line. You know what's ironic, and obviously Schrader was picked up by the Raiders to be their starting quarterback. Through 3 weeks this year, the Raiders had scored more touchdowns than any team in the National Football League with Steve Berline at the helm. But he goes to the bench because when a guy with Schrader's contract comes in, there's little doubt.
And this is the worst situation in the world that Mike Shanahan wanted for Jay Schrader. Still learning the system and already 2 touchdowns down.
That's Marcus Allen as a wide receiver. He's flanked to the right. Vance Mueller is the sole running back in this set. And it's Mueller out of Occidental who gets banged back at the 21-yard line. What a hit by Dennis Smith out of USC.
Well, your strong safety is supposed to be the guy that comes up and isn't afraid to put a hat or a shoulder pad on a running back. And that's exactly what Dennis Smith did on that play. Mueller goes backwards. Textbook hit by Dennis Smith.
Raiders at the 22, second down and 8. Lofton in motion. Then he slots to the left with Gold split to the left and Lofton in motion. Toss to Marcus Allen. He picks up 3 and he's rolled out of bounds by Rick Dennison. They can afford to use Allen a lot. He's really been a workhorse because Shanahan knows a little of the pressure. A lot of the pressure comes off and a lot of the workload comes off when Bo Jackson gets there. Bo Jackson's deal, by the way, lets him have a week off after the baseball season ends, which is next Sunday. Then he reports, and as Dennis Smith comes hobbling off holding his hamstring and will be replaced in the Denver secondary, Jackson gets a week off, and then it's conceivable he would play against Kansas City at Arrowhead in the middle of October.
I think Tyrone Braxton is the ball player that came in to replace Dennis Smith.
And Denver has to take a timeout. They take a timeout on defense. We'll be back. Al Michaels, Frank Gifford, Dan Deardorff. Monday Night Football. Denver on top 14-0. The Raiders have the ball at their own 26-yard line. Schrader in his Raider debut leads them up 3rd down and 4. And Schrader on a sneak only gets 1. And Rulon Jones is there to make the tackle.
Well, and this is a situation where the center snaps the ball way ahead of time. He snaps it early, and Jay Schrader is going to try to catch the defense off guard in a quick kick situation by the Raiders.
And the Raiders trying to catch Denver off guard with their punting unit. Gossett puts it in the air. Natil fields at the 28-yard line. 30. And finally run down at the 49-yard line by the punter, Gossett. And a penalty marker down. There's a flag down. Illegal procedure against.
Well, needless to say, that's going to be declined if it's against the Raiders.
You're exactly right, though, Al. They had hurried that kick, the kicking unit on the field.
Illegal formation. Number 56 on the offense. Penalty is declined. First down, Denver.
That's Milton McCall, who is probably the brainiest of the Raiders.
They hurried that kicking unit on the field to try and upset Denver, and they get the penalty, but it will be declined.
Broncos from their own 49 and leading 14-0. Sammy Winder takes it down to the 46-yard line. He picks up close to 5. It'll be 2nd down and 5 with 13 minutes and 10 seconds to play in the first half, and the Broncos on top by a score of 14-0.
You mentioned that Steve Watson is out of the lineup with an injury on injured reserve. Good possession receiver for the Broncos. So too is Mark Jackson, one of the amigos. He's on injured reserve, and he is a key reception man in the possession game for the Broncos.
2nd and 5, pump fake. Elway goes deep from Natil, too deep, and picked off at the 1-yard line by the rookie Dennis Price. The 5th-round choice out of UCLA had good position. Elway throwing in the direction of the rookie as he was hit by Mike Wise. Wise came through the middle to put the pressure on, as you'll see, and the pickoff.
Well, watch, when John Elway releases the ball, Price is a good 5 yards farther downfield than Natil. I think that's a pass that John was under a lot of pressure and really should not have thrown, because Dennis Price played that ball as well as you could play it. He gave up lots of room underneath, hoping for the long ball, and John Elway threw it to him. Natil not even in a position to break it up.
Elway, by the way, in his last 3 games against the Raiders had not thrown an interception, and tonight he's been intercepted twice. So the Raiders deep in a hole at their own 1-yard line. 1st and 10. Crowd trying to disrupt the count. And Allen takes it out to the 3 or 4-yard line. And we'll check out the middle of the line. Bill Lewis was playing with a gimpy leg, and he has come out of the game. John Giesick is the new center, and they are really battered and bruised on that offensive line, Dan.
Yeah, they really are. They've lost Mosbar, who's gone. Jim Lachey, who manned left tackle for them, is now playing in Washington. And now Bill Lewis is out. John Giesick, just a second-year guy who was a 10th-round choice last year. It's not the lineup that would remind you of guys like Gene Upshaw and Art Shell.
And Brian Holloway's gone. He's on injured reserve.
Yeah, it's a nicked-up group.
2nd and 7, and Schrader's got to take a timeout.
He'd run out of time. He would have never have gotten the playoff. Very wisely takes a timeout.
11:58 left in the half. It's not a very pretty sight for the Raiders. Interception, punt, and now they're down at their own 4. And look at that.
Only a 170-yard advantage for Denver. That's really not much at this stage of the ballgame.
Right now, the Raiders trying to get out of a hole. 2nd down and 7 from their own 4-yard line. Allen is the man in motion. And a quarterback draw. And again, with some success, as Schrader takes it out to the 9-yard line. And that will make it 3rd down and 2 with 11:45 remaining in the first half. Denver leading 14-0.
Second draw tonight for Schrader. I think they probably have kept it very simple for Schrader. He's been there 3 weeks. He's been working night and day to absorb the offense. But it takes a while. It's very complex, this game today.
Doesn't get much simpler than a quarterback draw.
Sure, certainly doesn't. I think that's why they're keeping it that way.
That might be oversimplifying the simplicity of what they're trying to do.
3rd down, 2. Marcus Allen out to the 17-yard line, stopped by Robbins.
Marcus Allen, he is the Travelers' Man of the Year for these Raiders. And as we remind you each and every week that the Travelers' Man of the Season will be announced on Super Bowl Sunday. Certainly one of the strong contenders.
That's an appropriate award for a guy from USC, isn't it?
Absolutely. Traveler running around out there.
Mm-hmm.
That horse used to terrify me on the sidelines.
1st and 10 from the 16-yard line. That's only the 2nd first down for the Raiders, who have Mervin Fernandez in the game. Split to the right. Marcus Allen can't slip a tackle in the backfield. Bruce Klosterman got a hand on his ankle, number 97, and Freddie Gilbert was in for the coup de grace.
Klosterman playing tonight because of the injury to Mecklenburg. Dennison has moved over to the strong side as a linebacker, and Bruce Klosterman making a start tonight. Well, he comes out on the pass, but he'll be in there in all the run situations.
Sooner or later, Jay Schrader has got to put the ball up in the air. I think the Raider offense is just about run out of draws and quarterback draws. Sooner or later, he's going to have to go downfield and get into the vertical passing game.
Like right here out of the shotgun with Brown in motion. And Gall split to the left. They'll send 3 men wide to the right, and they keep it on the ground to Allen to try to cross up the defense, and he takes it to the 20-yard line.
The more you watch this offense, the more you think that Jay Schrader must have viewed the videotapes from last week's game and what happened to Steve Berline, sacked 9 times.
And he's lucky that he handled this ball. Watch this snap from John Giesick, the center. A little bit high, and Jay has to take his eyes off of what's going on. That was a good athletic move by Schrader to field that ball. It doesn't look as hard from behind as it really is. That ball, that snap was a rocket ship.
You got a lot of things going against you. You got a backup center, a guy not used to the shotgun, a new coach, a new quarterback. 3rd down and 6 from the 20.
They better hurry up or they're going to get caught.
Schrader rifles one, and it's knocked down. It was a low throw intended for Christensen and broken up by Jim Ryan.
Jim Ryan, one of the fine linebackers in this league, particularly on a pass defense, not big, but he knows that zone defense of the Broncos as well as you could have any player know it. He just is kind of the captain out there, and he deflects it. Actually, Schrader saw him and just threw it into the turf.
Jeff Gossett fields that high snap and gets away a line drive. Endelmer and kick. which was touched by Natil and then covered up at the 42-yard line by Tyrone Braxton. An injudicious move on the part of Natil to try to field it, and then Braxton saves the day for him.
Look at Natil go after this ball that was low. After that contact on his left arm, it's a free football. And luckily for Denver, it goes right into the arms of number 34, Tyrone Braxton.
Over the last 10 years in games played outside the division, that graphic illustrates the AFC West has been the toughest of the division. NFC East second, at the bottom NFC Central. But this year, kind of a changing of the guard, and we'll show it to you in a moment after this play, and we'll show you what's been happening. As the Broncos take over at their own 42-yard line, 1st and 10, and Tony Dorsett picks up 4 yards. This season, playing outside your own division, teams in this division are 0-4. In the NFC East with the Giants and the Redskins, etc., 4-6. And look at the NFC West with the 49ers and the Rams and the Saints. They are 8-2. So a little bit of a changing of the guard going on in the NFL here.
Were you aware of that, Dan?
Well, I know. It's my idea to do that. So what do you mean, am I aware of that? I wrote that during the last commercial.
2nd and 7 from the 46. Dorsett tries a spin move, and he's stopped by Russell Carter, the former Jet.
You know, so much has changed, too, over the past few years. The AFC has really become kind of the finesse conference, if you will. They have only won 1 Super Bowl out of the last 7 played, and I think that's kind of interesting. The AFC, they're quick and they have a lot of finesse, and you get into the NFC, you get Washington, you get the Giants, you get the Bears, you get Minnesota, now the Rams. They are physical, they are bullies, and finesse has a hard time beating bullies when they get down into the playoffs, and certainly in the Super Bowl, and it's been proven.
A finesse man who'd normally be in, Gerald Wilhite, is hurt. He's one of the 2 inactives. Sewell takes his spot here on 3rd and 6. Elway from the shotgun rifles one for a first down to the 43-yard line to Vance Johnson. So bad toe and all, Johnson makes another catch, and it's the 3rd time he's made a catch for a first down. Of course, the big one was the 86-yarder.
Few things in this game are as pretty as John Elway throwing a football. And when he gets back there and he picks out a receiver, the release of Elway, I think, is one of the prettier parts of the game here in the National Football League. The ball just seems to get there quicker than when anyone else throws it.
It does.
It's not just a figment of my imagination, is it?
Johnson already with 100 yards receiving, and Sammy Winder gets inside the 15 to the 13-yard line. And so the forgotten man, the man asked to do the blocking for Dorsett and subjugate himself, becoming a star tonight again.
And that is just Sammy Winder running. That's just tough running.
Oh, look at the Raiders getting blown off the line of scrimmage. Right now, this game being completely dominated by the Denver Bronco offensive line. Look at Lanier take Robinson back off the ball. A trap by Bishop, and Winder doesn't have to take anyone on until he's 7 or 8 yards into the secondary.
Covers up the football. That could have been stripped. Good effort, Winder.
Denver at the 12, 1st and 10. Winder again, and Sammy to the 8-yard line. Stopped at the 8 after a pickup of 4. Charlie Sumner, who is in essence the defensive coordinator for the Raiders, even though he's listed as the linebacker coach, is not a very happy man right now. He's the man of the sunglasses.
Different Raider defense, isn't it? We remember back in the glory years, Lester Hayes at the corner, Mike Haynes in his all-pro years at the other corner, Van McEnroe on the way to the Pro Bowl. It's sort of, where are they now? It's a changing team.
2nd and 7. Tony Dorsett swinging to the outside and run out of bounds by Anderson at the 7-yard line. It'll be 3rd and 5 coming up. Clock stop 5:10 to go in the half.
What a funny attitude, too. We were talking with Howie Long last night. He echoed what I think a lot of the Raiders feel and have said. As a matter of fact, well, if we can just hang on until Bo Jackson gets here. And that's not a very good way to look at it, because it's going to be a while and they could be in deep trouble even after tonight.
Bo Jackson's not going to tackle anybody.
He might not even come if he's watching.
Bo Jackson isn't going to make a play on the line of scrimmage. I mean, the Raiders defensively somehow have to stiffen. I think he'll come. I'll give you about a million reasons why.
3rd and 5. Elway fires. Sewell, touchdown.
Maybe Bo wanted to get traded to Washington. Russell Carter easily beaten by Sewell, who works out of the backfield so well as a receiver, and Elway drilled it in there. He had to catch it in self-defense.
Nothing simple. There's Steve Sewell to the left of your screen. He flares out, just runs a pattern right underneath, and Russell Carter, who's locked up on him one-on-one, 2 steps behind, and trying to explain what he saw and why he was a little slow to react. But nonetheless, the route is on.
Russell said, I never got that license plate. Carlos kicks it through, and it's 21-0.
Elway, one of the strong arms ever to play this game. Dan touched on it a moment ago. It just seems to get there more quickly, and when he sees a man open, he releases it so quickly. Just a flick of the arm, and it's on his way.
Carlos booms one again in this light air, and from 2 yards deep, Vance Mueller will run it out, and he runs it out to the 21-yard line. And so the Raiders begin a drive from there with 4 minutes and 55 seconds to play in the first half. Jay Schrader, in his first Raiders start, talks about his most memorable moment.
Well, I think my most memorable moment in the NFL was we were playing Minnesota at home in 1986, and the game goes into overtime, and you throw a little hitch pattern and watch Gary Clark turn it up the sidelines for a touchdown to win it in overtime. I think that has to rank right up there with one of the highlights of being out in the NFL.
Tonight's game is not rivaling that, at least at the moment. From the 22-yard line, Schrader throwing deep and incomplete and overshooting Mervin Fernandez, and a flag is down back at the 15-yard line. So Schrader uncorking one for Swervin Mervin. That's not only incomplete, but now you've got a holding call going against the Raiders.
Guys, I want to clarify what I said about Jay Schrader, and if he's not the guy, maybe it's Steve Berline. My point there is, if Jay Schrader does not have enough of the Raider offense under his belt to execute passing every other down, or even more than that, that's why they may have to go to Berline. I mean, Berline has been there from the beginning, and there's just no way that Jay Schrader has absorbed as much of this Raider offense as he's going to as the weeks go by. And in this situation, down 21 points, you're going to have to throw the football almost exclusively. I don't know if Jay has enough of the game plan under his belt to do it.
And not only the offense, but a brand new offense. You've got a new coach, a new system. And right now they trail 21-0. First and 20 from the 12 out of the shotgun. Schrader with a ton of time and throws and finds the open man, Willie Gold, who makes his first catch for a first down out at the 34-yard line. And the last time we saw Gold in this stadium, he was a Chicago Bear on a Monday night last November, and he had a fabulous night.
Good call. They move Schrader out of the pocket, get away from the pressure. They can do that. He's a fine athlete. He waits and waits, and finally Gold uncovers, and Gold, with a very strong professional sense, gets the first down marker and picks it up.
Speaking of strong arms, that pass left a vapor trail.
Oh, there's never a question that he can throw it.
From the 34-yard line, first and 10. Marcus Allen and Steve Smith are the running backs. And they give it to Allen on a busted play as Greg Cragen comes in at the 30-yard line to make the tackle. Schrader running into Allen, and some mistiming there results in about a 4-yard loss.
Actually, that was the Raiders' version of counter gap, pulling both the off guard and off tackle, trying to bring it around, and bearing absolutely no resemblance to the way the Redskins run it.
We're talking about Jay Schrader. He, of course, came to the Raiders for Jim Lachey. I think everyone around feels that if nothing happens, Lachey down the line might even be a Hall of Famer. Can you imagine him down in that counter gap with the Redskins? That kind of size?
No, they've got some beef up front.
Well, talented beef. Second and 13 from the 32-yard line. Pressure on Schrader. And out at the 47-yard line, intended for Willie Gold and covered by Haynes.
Haynes like a blanket that time. Did not have to come up. You knew Schrader could not pull that ball down and run with it. There was pressure from the outside, and here is Galt. Haynes, aware of the speed, but plays it ever so well. Almost picks it off, almost got inside.
And Mark Haynes, one of those players on this Denver team that has been escaping Dan Reeves' wrath. He's been playing extremely well so far this year, and good coverage that time on Willie Galt, the former Giant, and when he wants to be one of the better corners in the game.
We have an unsportsmanlike conduct against the Los Angeles bench. 15-yard penalty. Repeat the down. Third down.
Against the bench. That could be against anybody over there.
Okay, now whoever did it, I want you to raise your hand. Now let's make this like a basketball game. When there's a foul, you got to raise your hand and say it was me.
You know, I can't remember the last time I've heard that call.
Well, it's being explained there to Mike Shanahan.
Sure, he's never heard of it.
I don't think anyone's going to own up to it right now. Well, if things aren't going bad enough for the Raiders offensively, now the bench chips in and moves them back a little bit.
3rd and 28 from the 17-yard line. With a moving pocket, the flag is down, and that was almost a lateral pass.
That was to
Marcus Allen. I think Allen was going to throw the ball.
A flea flicker back to Allen. He had Willie Galt deep downfield. Bad pass to Allen. I'm not sure whether he would have had enough time to throw it had it been a good pass. Did not fool Denver.
Illegal procedure on top of it. Last time we saw a play like that in this stadium, Houston was in here for the playoffs.
Yeah, and look how well it worked for them.
Same thing here.
About the same. Well, it was back at the goal line.
Formation. Offense number 66. Now the line on the line of scrimmage. Penalty is declined. Fourth down.
Well, they're pouring the salt in an open wound right now. Steve Wright was back off the line of scrimmage, the right tackle on that play for the Raiders, and I wouldn't look for the fake punt here.
No, we're not in Detroit. Gossett's kick. Natil at the Raider 49-yard line and runs it back to the 39-yard line. And the first half belonging to the Broncos. Denver from the Raider 39, and Dorsett closing in on Jimmy Brown. Picks up 6. Lyndon King, the linebacker, 52 in on the tackle. And that's the Denver radio booth. Well, they've got some happy things to report tonight. Bob Martin and the boys.
Well, this is a fun game to do if you're the home radio team. This is when you can hoop and holler and have a pretty good time. The Raiders now starting to flood the line of scrimmage, putting 8 people up on the ball, trying to play the Denver running game and not doing it well.
Sammy Winder picks up 6.
I'm sure this is not what Mike Shanahan expected from his defense. They really figured this defense was the thing that would hold them together until Schrader came along, Bo Jackson arrived. This is a defense that was ranked 2nd in the NFL in yards allowed last year and tough against the run. They have been shredded tonight.
Always tough against the run. I'm sure that Shanahan is not believing his eyes. Poor Jay Schrader over on the sideline. I mean, he must just can't believe this. Already down 21-0. Denver already in scoring position. And Berline is saying, go get him, Jay.
You see on his wrist a list of plays.
He's got the plays listed on his left wrist as Winder is stopped after a pickup of about 1.
I'm sure Berline walked up to him and said, hey, Jay, baby, you finish this one off. You need to work. I'll catch you on the plane on the way home.
2 minutes to go in the first half. It's been all Broncos.
Berline's got his little list also. They better rewrite it.
Al Michaels with Frank Gifford and Dan Dierdorf. Broncos routing the Raiders 21-0 and moving again at the LA 27-yard line.
You know, when you have this kind of a lead, you got a 2nd and long, you can look for John to try and get it in the end zone. They like to just run this up.
2nd and 9. Natil goes in motion. They give it to Dorsett. Tony threads his way through and takes it down to the 22-yard line. And the drama in this game may come in whether or not Dorsett passes Brown before the night is over. Peyton, of course, number 1, and it'll probably be number 1 forever. Walter with that much of a margin, and Dorsett, there he is for the night, 66 yards.
Well, if Denver should go ahead and score on this drive, and the Raiders have shown absolutely no signs that they might stop them, you know, Dan Reeves really has a decision whether or not he even wants to play Tony Dorsett. I would imagine he'll give him some work into the second half and maybe let him break it tonight before a Monday night audience.
Sure.
That'd be kind of neat.
And a flag goes down. And this play will go against Denver as Elway throws it out of bounds. Here that Sammy Winder started to come out of his three-point stance before the play.
A defensive lineman's dream, getting to chase John Elway for about 30 or 40 yards, knowing all the while that you have absolutely no chance of catching him before he throws the ball away.
At 5,200 feet of elevation, not bad.
Yeah. Great way to spend a Monday night.
On the offense, number 33, penalty is declined. 4th down.
I'm sure that the defensive linemen think that the illegal motion ought to be against Elway, but nobody should be able to have that kind of motion.
Meanwhile, Carlos now, who has not missed a kick all season. Perfect with extra points, perfect with his field goal attempts.
Well, you're really putting the whammy on this guy, aren't you?
Yep. He's hot. He's in a groove.
Say it again. He hasn't missed all year,
He's
right?
like Oral Hershiser. He can't miss right now. 29-yard line. And Kubiak.
Timeout. Denver. Their second timeout.
Were they a man short?
This is a 40-second timeout.
They were running out of time also, and they did not want to pick up 5 more yards and extend the distance of that kick.
It's about the only thing Denver's done wrong in this first half. 39-yard attempt by Carlos. Good. And with 1 minute and 7 seconds to play in the first half, the Broncos lead it by a score of 24-0. Steve Largent extended his pass catching streak yesterday, and he'll be live. And then, of course, there's a very big story in regard to Ben Johnson in Seoul and his drug test. And Dick Schaap will fill us in on that, the latest on that at halftime, in a live report from Seoul. So stay with us. Here comes Schrader at the 20-yard line with 1 minute and 7 seconds now left in the first half. You know, it's funny, as you look at that Bronco bench, there's a guy on the bench who hasn't played tonight, Sam Grady, the sprinter, and he's a wide receiver. He beat Ben Johnson in 1984 in the Olympics when Carl Lewis won the gold. Grady was second, and Johnson was third.
Was Danny Reeves funny this morning talking about that? He said, I can't get over it. Every time I look at him, he says, that man beat Ben Johnson.
There he is, yeah. He also won a gold medal in the relay, 4x100. So a gold and a silver for him in L.A.
As it turns out, maybe Carl Lewis did.
Yeah, you're right. Schrader uncorks it. No chance.
Well, and Willie Galt, his intended receiver that time, I don't know if he was confused on where the ball was going or whatever, but he pulled that baby up about 15 yards short. And this, if you like the Raiders, is not pretty. It gets worse and worse. On their last possession, a minus 17 yards, capped by a punt out of their own end zone. Of course, that was after a personal foul on the bench, an unnamed perpetrator over there.
Perhaps somebody's graphic discussion of the official's ancestry.
I'll leave you to speculate on that. But I think you're probably right.
2nd and 10. We've got a whistle. Play is dead.
I think we got delay of game there.
Yeah, we do. Clock went down to 0.
Oh, this is ugly now. You know, you don't expect that. As you look down, you see James Lofton on one side, you see Willie Galt, you see Marcus Allen.
Delay, offense, number 13, still 2nd down.
You know, what it really has to be, Dan, I think the importance of an offensive line. This is a decimated offensive line. They gave up 9 sacks a week ago. They're missing Mosbar. We talked about that. They're missing Holloway. They traded Lachey to Washington. They're hurting.
They're hurting offensively. But defensively, they've given up 24 points already. And, you know, sometimes you just have to stiffen your back a little bit.
But doesn't it kind of permeate through the entire team?
Yeah, it does.
2nd and 15. Knocked away, intended for Allen, and knocked away by Tyrone Braxton.
No one will ever accuse me of overhyping a second half of play that's yet to be played. But I'm not going to go too far out on a limb and say there's no way the Raiders could possibly play this bad for another 30 minutes, is it? I mean, they couldn't possibly stink it up this bad in the second half.
Well, you know, the funny thing is, in their recent history, the biggest egg laid by the Raiders was on a Monday night game in '86, Frank, at the Kingdome.
Yeah, but I wasn't here for that.
I know it. 37-0, and they had 11 sacks that night.
That one really had an odor to it.
Yeah, they were the sackees 11 times. 3rd down and 15.
Wide open.
Going deep for Brown. He was open, but the ball is overthrown.
He was open, but it would have had to have been an almost perfect throw. It would have had to come between 2 defenders. And perhaps on another day, on another field with the Hogs blocking, he might have got that in there.
Even a good throw gets this in because the safety is still another. You see how far he is from coming into the play. Kevin Guidry was a little late getting there, but not to be.
Meanwhile, Gossip's kick is fielded by Natil at the 41, and Ricky is run out of bounds at the 48 of the Raiders, and the crowd wants a late hit on Zeph Lee with 40 seconds. Meanwhile, because the Raiders were 3 and out, and with the incomplete passes, it enables Denver to now start on the other side of the 50 and add more points.
Well, let's see if there's any mercy in the heart of Dan Reeves and John Elway. Let's take a look at this hit by Zeph Lee on the reverse angle. Natil heading out of bounds. Where does he make contact? In the field of play or out? Well, right on the sidelines. There's no way that's ever going to be called a late hit. You can't be running as fast as Zeph Lee was and expect him to pull up in the matter of 3 or 4 feet. Physically not possible.
Well, hardly mercy when you line up in the shotgun.
Maybe they don't like the Raiders.
At the 48-yard line, Rick Massey makes the catch and takes it to the 27-yard line. Denver has 1 timeout remaining.
Oh, man, send the women and children to bed.
No, not if they have people meters. Hold on.
They shouldn't witness this.
And all your puppies.
Whoa.
From the 27-yard line. Here's Elway. Caught by Johnson. He doesn't get out of bounds. He tried to roll out of bounds, but they said contact was made, and thus Denver is now forced to use its final timeout. And they have 10 seconds, so Elway can attempt to get one into the end zone, and if that fails, they can bring in Carlos.
Boy, Vance Johnson sure tried to get out of bounds. Doing the roll, heading for the sidelines, and
on the turf, though, all you have to do is touch him. Is dead right there. I wonder if this is really what Dan Reeves was looking for. He said this team has been lackadaisical. They aren't tonight. Everything is working. He's on the ground now. It takes just a touch, and the ball is dead right there.
Yeah, Dennis Price got him before he went out of bounds. Smart play by Price in not letting Johnson roll to the sidelines.
Well, Carlos was out there, and Elway saying, wait a second, we got time for a play. I can try and put it into the end zone.
Again, this is the faith they have in John Elway. It'll be something that he can either get complete for 6 or he'll throw it away. Whew.
Ball at the 17. They're out of timeouts. They have Johnson and Massey wide to the left and the Natil split to the right.
Don't look for a quarterback draw here.
You better hurry.
They're out of time. They let the clock expire.
Oh, they got it.
They let the clock expire. I think the stadium clock, the official clock, started to move. But
that's amazing.
Well, wait a minute. Denver took a timeout.
They didn't take a timeout was the deal. It ends on a very confusing note. I thought, let's see what Hantak says, if anything.
Well, Dan Reeves and John Elway were certainly under the impression that the clock had been stopped. Al Davis must have been running the clock here at Mile High Stadium because the entire Denver Bronco team thought that the clock was stopped and they were going to have plenty of time to run a play. as Elway takes his offensive team to the line, the clock starts running.
Well, we'll clear it up when we get back. Another look now. There it is, the game clock. That's the game clock.
Elway is oblivious to the fact that it's running. It clearly clicks to 000 before the snap of the ball.
And here's Reeves. He thought, and I thought too, because remember when Johnson began to roll out of bounds, they said he was inbounds.
That's the only way they could have stopped the clock.
Exactly.
He's touched inbounds. The clock keeps moving.
In any event,
well,
that may be the break the Raiders need. And back in Denver, where the Broncos, with a super first half, 24-0, and just to fill you in on what happened at the end of that first half, which ended in some confusion. Johnson was inbounds, but it was close enough to measure, so they had to bring the sticks across, and they stopped the clock for that. Denver was under the impression that they had taken a timeout, when in fact they had not. So as they go back out and Elway begins to run the next play, the clock is ticking down. That results in the confusion. No more play into the half.
Hope the game doesn't swing on that.
Yeah, right. I have a feeling it won't. 2-yard line. Tim Brown starts the second half with a little bit of a thrill as Carlos bumps him out of bounds. Brown, who ran back a kickoff for a touchdown, 97 yards in his first NFL game, the opener against San Diego, brings them out to the 40-yard line.
Hey, is that something?
Yeah.
That is spectacular.
Anything is prettier to see that moon over some of the great ski slopes you have out here in Colorado.
I wonder if it's rising or setting. It depends on which team you're rooting for.
Yep.
Well, let's see if the pride and poise, the silver and black, can make something happen offensively. It was a futile first half, to say the least, and Jay Schrader still at the helm.
From the 41-yard line, Dennis Smith is still not back for Denver. Randy Robbins takes his spot in the defensive secondary, and the pass is thrown behind James Lofton. The last time Lofton played a game in this stadium, it was that famous snow game in '84, Green Bay against Denver. He caught 11 passes in the blizzard.
For over 200 yards and a touchdown. What a night that was. That one was over in the first 21 seconds. By the way, he was wide open.
Staggering imbalance of numbers favoring the Broncos. Not often in the National Football League you'll see a team with only 40 yards to their credit for an entire half.
From the 41-yard line, 2nd and 10. Not third down. Not only 41 yards, Dan, but a team that has Schrader, Galt, Lofton, Allen, Christensen, who's been totally silent tonight, and the rest. They have marquee names on offense.
And they also have Rory Graves, a left tackle, a backup center,
who does a whiff job there on Rulon Jones. You know that it's an NFL statistic that teams who only have 41 yards offense at the half are trailing 99% of the time when they go to the locker room at halftime.
That's not right. It's 97%.
Well, 99 by my calculation.
3rd and 10 from the 41. Flag, and the minute you mention the silent Christensen, does he? No, he doesn't make the catch. And we'll see about the penalty.
Well, this will be a holding call against the Raiders, I would imagine, and it just goes from bad to worse. And if you don't believe me, ask him.
Holding, offense, number 63. Penalty is declined. 4th down.
John Giesick.
John Giesick, the center, who's having to play for Bill Lewis, who would be the starting center, who tried to play tonight and couldn't. He's out.
The much-traveled Jeff Gossett gets off a good kick, fielded by McKeel at the 13-yard line. And he gets banged down at the 18-yard line. Tackle made by Reggie McKenzie.
USC defeating Oklahoma this past week.
Well, here's the story of the second half, at least for the moment. Dorsett, and whether or not he can eclipse before the night is done, Jim Brown. He stopped for no gain here. by Lyndon King. And there's the quarterback comparison for the first half. A little difference. Look at the rating.
105.5 rating for John Elway. 1.7 for Jay Schrader. And I did not know that you could get a rating that small. That's incredible. That has to be a mistake. That can't be right.
Wonderful world of microchips.
1.7.
2nd and 10 from the 18. Elway throws it into the back of one of his linemen.
Oh, that's a
Bishop, and 3 flags come down.
Ineligible receiver, and that'll go against the Broncos.
Yeah. You know what the deal is, Dan, as we wait for Hantack to tell us officially.
Illegal touching behind the line by an ineligible receiver. It is a loss of down penalty, 3rd down.
According to my calculation, Dan, at the half, if a quarterback has a rating of 1.7, 100% of the time that team goes down to the field.
I thought it was 99.8, but I'll go with you.
I rounded it off.
Elway hitting Bishop right in the back, but he was open.
He'd have dropped it even if he'd have been facing Elway, so it wouldn't have made any difference. It would have been flags anyway. Behind the line, you can't touch.
Were you ever tackle eligible?
Yes. But then I got married. They never threw it to me, Frank. It broke my heart.
3rd and 10. Elway. Incomplete. Mobley wants a flag and doesn't get it.
And he would have got it against Stacy Turan had that ball been catchable. Turan put his hands on his back and gave him a shove. The ball thoroughly overthrown.
Now Mike Horan, who's been pretty quiet tonight. It's always a good sign when your punter doesn't get into the game very often. It normally means things are going pretty well.
Here comes Mr. Excitement.
Horan's first punt, and Tim Brown to receive at the 40-yard line.
A boomer.
What a kick.
And Brown falls down, and that one goes out of bounds at the 13-yard line.
Well, when it goes bad, it goes bad. But what a punt by Mike Horan.
That was exciting for Tim Brown, too.
69 yards.
His attempt at a backpedal. Tim Brown won't be a corner.
Poor baby.
A little Orange Crush defense revisited in this one so far tonight. 13:24 to go, 3rd quarter. Broncos on top, 24-0. Raiders have the football at their own 13-yard line, 1st and 10. Smith and Allen are the running backs as Schrader drops to throw and fires over the middle and hits Steve Smith, the fullback, out to the 28-yard line for a 1st down. He is tackled by Rick Dennison.
This is one of the Raiders that Dan Reeves is really high on. They would have liked to have drafted Steve Smith had they been able to. And young running back, good blocking back out of Penn State. You see so many of them come out of Penn State that can do so many different things. Joe Paterno almost demands that from his backs. Good receiver, good blocker.
To the 28-yard line. On 1st and 10, Marcus Allen makes his way out to the 32-yard line. And it'll be 2nd down and 6. You know, we talk about Mike Shanahan taking over. He's the youngest coach in the league by a lot. He's 36 years old, and Al Saunders of San Diego would be next in his early 40s. And you look at some of the guys who got breaks early on as young coaches, and Don Shula's name was mentioned before. Dan Reeves was a young head coach. None of them started out brilliantly. All had a period of time in which they had to install certain systems and get things going. 2nd down and 6 from the 32. Schrader, incomplete, intended for Galt, blanketed by Castile.
Good coverage by Jeremiah Castile. They did not know whether he'd be able to play because of a concussion he suffered against Kansas City last week. Good concentration. He is going to watch Galt all the way. Sees Galt look at the ball. Galt actually lured him into taking a look himself, trying to slow him up, but fine coverage. You couldn't ask for it to be better.
Great deal of contact between Castile and Willie Gault, but the ball clearly not catchable, and I think that's the type of coverage that a year ago might have drawn a flag, but this year the NFL liberalizing what a defender can and cannot do. Get used to it, because that's not going to get called this year.
Shotgun on 3rd and 6. Allen stays in the block. Schrader going deep for Gault. He has his man beat, but the throw is too far. He got behind Castile.
And Jay took a pounding that time. Dropped by a couple Denver defensive linemen. The blitz was on, but again, it's a case of overthrowing the receiver. Willie Gault, one of the fastest men in the NFL, beats Castile, beats him handily. Looked like Willie grabbed at his left leg there, didn't it? Did you see his left hand go down? But still, that ball a couple yards out in front, not catchable.
Here's Jeff Gossett, yet another punt for Gossett. And a fair catch called for this time. Mike Harden is there to accept it at the 19-yard line. Broncos have it. We have 11:45 to go in the 3rd period in the Mile High City. 24-0 Denver. Well, there's the commissioner on the right, Pete Rozelle, and his wife Carrie looking on.
Quite a pair. Terry, of course, very deeply involved with the Foundation for Children with Learning Disabilities. Started that foundation, has grown rapidly nationwide. Quite a couple.
And they're looking on as Denver continues to dominate. They lead 24-0. 1st and 10 Broncos at the 20-yard line. Tony Dorsett picks up a couple of notes here. We mentioned Horan's punt before. Officially it was 70 yards. That's the only punt of the night for Denver. Raiders have punted 7 times. And it's 24-0 as Tony Dorsett becomes the story right now. He needs 29 yards. And he'll move into 2nd place behind Walter Payton. He's got 68 at the moment.
It'd be fun to see him do it tonight. National audience, Monday Night Football. I know he'd love it.
2nd and 8. And he'll pick up a few more here. About 2 hard ones to the 24. So he's doing it in little bites right now.
Interesting. When Tony Dorsett overtakes Jim Brown, he'll still be over 4,400 yards behind Walter Payton. That just tells you about the remarkable career of Walter Payton.
And you have to throw in at the same time, what's going to happen if 2 things happen? Eric Dickerson stays healthy, and Eric Dickerson feels like playing for another 6 or 7 years. He'll blow by Walter Payton.
What if Bo Jackson quits baseball?
Do it next year.
3rd and 6. Massey makes the catch. Flag is thrown. Back at the 28. Play ends at the 35.
I'd be surprised if we don't get a little call this time going against the Broncos. I think we're going to get a pushing off.
After that signal, I'd be surprised too.
Offensive pass interference. Offense, number 88, 10-yard penalty. Repeat the down. 3rd down.
Clarence Kay.
Well, the crowd here in Denver is booing lustily, but a good call that time by the officials. Kay went to make his break to the sidelines, and at least by my eye, clearly pushed off of one of the Raider defensive backs. And those are the kind of things that happen when you're a little rusty, you're working your way back into things. Clarence Kay working his way back into playing time after being out a couple weeks with an injury.
3rd and 16 from the 14-yard line. Elway on the move.
Boy, that
throws is going to be picked off at the 42-yard line. Picked off by Eddie Anderson. And that's the 3rd interception of an Elway pass tonight.
John's just trying to throw that out of bounds, and he just miscalculated.
Well, you can be an all-world quarterback like John Elway is, but when you throw a duck and you throw a terrible pass, you can't hide from it. And that's just the kind of mistake that John Elway is really too good of a quarterback to make.
It's not as bad as you get, too.
Oh, that's as bad as it gets. I mean, that's where if he was a rookie quarterback, a coach would think about benching him.
See Dan walk right by him there, Dan Reeves?
Yeah. I mean, as good as Elway is, he'll get a good chewing out tomorrow when they watch those films.
From the 40-yard line, 1st and 10. Schrader on a roll, wide open is Smith. Inside the 30, the 20, inside the 10, touchdown. And so the Raiders capitalized on the turnover. After the interception, the pass to Smith, and we talked about him and his size and his blocking ability, but they love his hands as well. And the Raiders, with an extra point, can make it 24-7.
Somebody blew it defensively. Smith coming out of the backfield has got to be picked up by a linebacker. They had a little bit of a deal going. He's wide open, but we told you about his ability not only to run the football but to block, but as a receiver, and that's the reason that Danny Reeves would have liked to have had the opportunity to have drafted him.
The Broncos gambled with a first down blitz and get caught. That time the Raiders had the right play on, and we're going to get a stoppage of play here.
They may be looking at the sideline, whether he stepped out or not.
Going to reset the 30-second clock.
Nope, no overrule, just resetting the clock. Barr to kick. Chris Barr, so he has it tipped, but it goes through. Break for the Raiders. And we'll take a look at it as from a reverse ankle, Smith from Penn State scores the touchdown, and Barr
set up the block
for the extra point.
Set the block beautifully. Tiptoes, staying in bounds, gets the 6. Good effort.
Here's the kick. From the 3 yards inside the end zone, Kenny Bell takes it out to the 20-yard line. Steve Strahan makes the tackle. And you want to illustrate that, baby? What do you think here?
This is the moon right here.
Yeah.
2:38 at 8:57. That's how many miles Tony Dorsett needs to catch Walter Payton.
Broncos come out 1st and 10 at their own 20-yard line as the Raiders try to make a game out of it after the Elway gap. And Dorsett spins and can't get anything as Rod Martin makes sure he's down after the initial contact by Robinson. And the smiling Martin, a Super Bowl MVP a few years back, in on the tackle.
9:09 left in the third quarter, and the Raider defense, maybe, if they could do anything at all stopping the Broncos offensively, maybe there's a bit of a spark in the Raider offense. Who knows?
2nd and 10. Denver from the 20-yard line. Sandy Winder turns around to the 25, and no, can't hold on. He's covered by Lyndon King. Incomplete. 3rd down and 10. Well, this could get interesting. There's Joe Collier, the defensive coordinator, walking away. And the Denver coaching staff, it's a revamped Denver coaching staff, because not only did Shanahan leave, but he took Alex Gibbs with him, and he took Nick Nicolau with him as well.
And the timing was what really hurt Dan Reeves. All those coaches leaving in March. Most other assistant coaches around the NFL have already found a home. Forced Dan Reeves to go into the college ranks to fill out his staff.
3rd down and 10. Raiders do jump offside. Free play as the Raiders were offside, and a wobbly pass is incomplete. And Elway is angry because he knew it was a free one.
A free one, and he had a man wide open. And he knew it was one that he should have got in there.
Rick Massey.
Another flag down.
I think Lyndon King might have been the defender that went offside. Getting ready to come on the blitz.
Offsides. Defense, number 52. 5 yards. Repeat the down. 3rd down.
It'll make it 3rd down and 5. Little dance step action coming up here.
We talked about the hard count of John Elway. Those are Lyndon King's legs in the lower right-hand part of your screen, number 52. And clearly straddling the football at the snap.
On 3rd and 5, King comes out. Elway out of the shotgun. And fires over the middle, intended for Sewell. Incomplete. And so the Raiders are trying to make it interesting as Horan will come in to punt for only the 2nd time in the game.
And they went back to exactly the same play that they scored a touchdown pass on at the end of the first half. Sewell that time working against Russell Carter was open, and somehow John misfired and led him far too much with the football. And let's see what the Raiders can do offensively. Maybe Jay Schrader has caught fire a little bit.
8:33 to play, 3rd quarter. Horan angles it, and again Brown slips, and Horan will get another beauty. Out of bounds at the 8-yard line as Tim Brown again loses his footing. And so Horan, who had a 70-yarder, follows that baby with a 67-yarder.
We're watching Tim Brown. He returned 3 punts for touchdowns last year for Notre Dame. Twice now we've seen him on his keister trying to field it here at Denver. This is not what we're going to see the rest of his career. He's a great football player.
Well, at least they had the real star of that show doing the promo.
I beg your pardon? You. I can't believe you're still here. 3rd quarter.
I'm partial to those St. Louis guys.
Dan Dierdorf, whose record of games played is being eclipsed tonight by Dorsett. Raiders have it at the 9-yard line, 1st and 10. As they try to get back into the game, Marcus Allen escapes a tackle and turns a 1-yard loss into about a 7-yard gain.
Our version of Tim McCarver on my right, with all of his appliances.
We labored away together in St. Louis. Tim with the baseball Cardinals.
What a great job he does.
And we seem to have both found a home here at ABC. Not all bad, huh?
Well, we're thinking about bringing you in as the 4th man in the booth.
If I only could have caught Steve Carlton, just think how long I could have played.
That's right. Well, that extended Tim's career a few years, didn't it?
Sure did.
But the playoffs begin next Tuesday. From the 18-yard line, 2nd down, and a long yard. And it's caught by Gall, and he's rolled down at the 29-yard line by Jeremiah Castile.
Even though they were unable to get the ball to Willie Gall in the 2 fly patterns he ran a few moments ago, you saw how far Jeremiah Castile was playing off Gall. He just ran down there, didn't even threaten the fly pattern, and picked up about 8 yards on it.
Well, I give the credit to that to Marcus Allen, who gave the Raiders a chance to play on a 2nd and short rather than a 2nd and long by making that big run. But your point is valid, Frank. Castile clear out of the picture on his coverage. But you can afford to play like that when you've got a 24-7 lead in a cornerback.
Raiders from the 29-yard line. 6:44 to go in the 3rd period. Schrader getting hot. Gold at the 43-yard line. Willie Gall making the catch, and Schrader getting in a groove.
The Broncos with a blitz that time, forcing single coverage. Gall reads it, breaks off his route, curls up on the inside. Jay Schrader reads it as well and gets him the football. A look at Steve Berline there signaling in the play, and even if the Raiders don't win tonight's game, if Jay Schrader can at least work out some of the kinks, Mike Shanahan might get at least something out of it, even if they don't get the win.
3 times as many yards already in the 2nd half as the 1st from the 44, 1st and 10, Los Angeles. Brown on an end around. Does a hurdle job and takes it to the 49-yard line. So Brown, who would have been stopped initially at the line of scrimmage, does a little Roger Kingdom move and picks up several yards.
He did a lot of this at Notre Dame, and we've been watching him tonight. He has fallen down on 2 attempted punt returns, and you have to suspect that maybe the altitude is carrying the ball a little further than he is used to it being carried on a punt. Let's watch him now on the reverse fine execution of the hurdle here. Good effort.
A lot of running. A lot of running for only 5 yards.
2nd and 5 from the 49-yard line. Schrader going deep for Lofton. He's blanketed. Incomplete. Covered by Castile. Castile really doing a nice job tonight. He's a fellow who suffered a concussion last week. There's Braxton, but Castile suffered a concussion last week in Kansas City, and there was some question as to whether or not he would even play tonight, and he's done a nice job.
Jay Schrader is going to have to become, I think, a little more selective on his long patterns. It's like he's making his mind up before the snap and throwing the ball, regardless of how well the man is covered. The coverage could not have been any better that time than Jeremiah Castile had on James Lofton, and yet, again, Jay Schrader threw right into that coverage. We saw him do it repeatedly in the first half, and I don't know, maybe he needs to spend a little more time and survey the field, and something confused him here. Schrader and the Raiders take a timeout.
It's a pretty important play.
Timeout.
It's an important play in the sense they're mounting a drive. They've already chopped 7 points off what was a 24-point Denver lead. And if they can get into the end zone on a long drive here, we've got a ball game. And a 3rd and 5 coming up.
You know, I was talking about Jay Schrader and his being selective. I just want you to watch this coverage. Now, you're Jay Schrader. As you look to the left side of the field, what would you see here that would make you want to throw the football? And I'm saying absolutely nothing. Castile has the inside position. Lofton can't conceivably make that catch and stay in bounds. And I think you're running a 50-50 chance of putting that ball up in the air that's going to be intercepted.
And what we didn't see on that shot was Tyrone Braxton was inside of that. 2 men on the coverage. Now, somewhere, somebody has got to be a little looser than that. And it's just the unfamiliarity with the offense that I think keeps Schrader going to the covered man. It'll have to do nothing but improve. I saw him too many times in 1986 when he went to the Pro Bowl, over 4,000 yards. There's a lot of quarterback in this young man.
3rd down and 5. Out of the shotgun, we've got a penalty flag. It's to Allen. There's no play. The play is dead before the snap.
False start. Offense. Left guard. 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
And that would be Charlie Hanna.
And he clearly pulls away early. Charlie Hanna's lined up at left guard, and you can see him pull out in a hurry. This is him right here. Watch him rock backwards before the ball is snapped. Why, though, Dan? Just lack of concentration. Seeing the blitz. You see Jim Ryan up in the hole. He saw Ryan and moved before the snap of the ball. That's, you know, in a situation like this, he's a veteran player. Shouldn't make that mistake.
12 years he's been around.
On 3rd and 10, here they come, but the Raiders pick them up, and the pass is too high, but there's a flag. Willie Gault was wrapped up by Mark Haynes for the interference call. The Raiders did a nice job as Denver rushed 6. And Schrader was able to get it away, and it'll be a 1st down after the penalty.
And the Raiders got lucky that time because that ball was severely overthrown. But he clearly got hit that time by Haynes. I watch Haynes make his move and wrap his arms around Gault's waist way before the football gets there. That's interference all the way, but, you know, that's a pass that was really suspect as to whether it would have been completed anyway.
Haynes had just been beaten a few plays ago by Gault. Playing it tight, playing it aggressive. Key penalty for the Raiders.
You sense this crowd here becoming a little uneasy?
Absolutely. Gault out, Fernandez in, Allen in motion on 1st and 10. Toss to Vance Mueller, and he's tripped up, stopped at the 43-yard line. Tackle is made by Bruce Klosterman, number 97. 5 minutes, 25 seconds to play, 3rd period. Broncos on top, 24-7. Raiders, no factor through the first half. Big break off an Elway interception. A pass from Schrader to Smith put him into the end zone. And here they are mounting a nice drive. Currently at the 42 of Denver, 2nd down and 6. fullback.
Exactly the same play. Exactly the same play. They ran to the other side of the field for a touchdown.
But this time, Dan, there was no blitz. Nobody picked him up. He's wide open. And one of the better linebackers, Jim Ryan, was trying to provide the coverage, number 50, and he just let Smith get outside of him. And then Ryan, never known for his speed, doesn't make the tackle, and Smith's on his way.
Ryan got a hand on Smith's hip. That's about the extent of it right here. And Mervin Fernandez turns back to the inside. Sees Smith all the sideline he needs. And this crowd has quieted more than considerably here in Denver. They can't believe it.
Barr's extra point is good. And so the drive kept alive on the pass interference call on Haynes. And then Smith, who has caught touchdown passes of 40 and 42 yards, puts the Raiders right back into the game. 24-14 with 4:44 remaining in the third period.
And the Raiders have things settled down, and there is a little get-together in front of the Denver bench. Denver coming out with a comfortable 24-0 lead, perhaps letting up a little bit. And you know the Raiders just got laced when they were in the locker room, and they were humiliated with that first half. There are a lot of veteran ball players on this Raiders team, and they do have a lot of pride. And they did not have the poise in the first half, and they came back out playing different football here in the second half. And sometimes when that momentum turns, it is hard to turn it back around.
Nick Nicolau, who coached here at Denver, and there's Shanahan, and Alex Gibbs was the other coach. Three of them came over from the Denver staff. And what was it Reeves was telling us today, the chronology of the hiring of Shanahan? He said Al Davis asked him during Super Bowl week if he could talk to Shanahan, and Dan says, would you mind waiting until after the game?
Which was, I think, an appropriate response.
I think so. Barr, 1 yard deep. Kenny Bell comes out with it. And he's knocked down at the 21-yard line, and a flag goes down.
Here's Steve Smith lined up at the fullback position. Here's Jim Ryan. Watch the crossing action. Smith is going to come out, but Ryan is not going to be able to come across and make the play. He's just going to be a little late. The crossing action in the backfield freezes Ryan just momentarily. By the time he reads the play correctly, it's too late for him to come out and get anything more than a hand on the hip of Smith.
You know, you wouldn't expect that from Ryan either. He is one of the better pass defending linebackers in the league.
That crossing action in the backfield, I think, throws him. And if you freeze a linebacker for more than just a second in this league with the kind of athletes we're talking about, it's going to end up a big play. Here's the late hit on the ground, and that's a spear right in the kidney. That should draw the flag, and did.
He was on the way back to the huddle. Oh, that hurts a team that's on the move.
Hurts the guy lying on the ground, too.
Oh, it does smart.
Trey Junkin, the guilty party, from the 37-yard line. Elway, talk about time, and then he hits Johnson, who does a toe dance at the 43-yard line for a gain of 6. What did he have, 7 seconds, 8 seconds?
Raiders in their 3-4 on first down, and they got absolutely no pressure at all from Mike Wise, Piquel, or Howie Long up front. Elway just standing there looking until finally Johnson uncovered. You got to get some kind of pressure, even though you're only rushing 3.
Well, let's see. Denver's offense turn now to try to assert itself. Wrestle control this game away from the Raiders.
2nd and 3. Dorsett and Winder lined up behind. And here's Tony going to the outside. He escapes Wise and then gets run out of bounds by Anderson, or run down just shy of the boundary by Anderson at the 50. Haynes also coming over to help out, and a first down with 4:08 left in the third period. He needs 97 yards total tonight to surpass Brown, so he's 21 yards shy of the great Cleveland fullback.
Twice tonight, Dorsett has got that first down on a play designed to go inside, and one other time he got the touchdown. He still has, in his 12th year, enough savvy and enough speed to get outside when he knows the amount of yardage he has to pick up.
Frank, I'd say that thing was headed for right guard.
Absolutely.
And he ends up taking it all the way around the left outside.
Tony D again slithers through for a pickup of 4 to the 46-yard line. Matt Millen. on the tackle.
There's a classic example of the way Dorsett runs so effectively. How many times do you see a running back that every time there's a decision, they almost automatically make that decision to make their break to the sideline? That time, Dorsett is content to make his cut back to the inside. It's not going to be a huge play, but it's a solid play. It's always positive yardage.
And look at this. The disparity in the first quarter, the second quarter, and now the third quarter belonging to the Raiders. 2nd and 6 from the 46-yard line. Sammy Winder to the 46-yard line. It was 2nd and 6. Lyndon King and Stacy Turan come in on the stop. And it's 3rd down and 6 now from the 46-yard line.
Al, I don't want to be an I told you so, but I told you there's no way they could be this bad in the second half as they were in the first half.
Did he say that, Frank?
Well, we're going to replay it a little later. He has it queued up on his illustrator.
It's impossible that they could be as bad as they were in the first half.
3rd down and 6 from the 46, and here they come, and it's Howie Long leading the charge.
I'll say he's leading it.
Yeah. Ask Billy Bryan, the center.
And they're going to call that against Elway, I believe. And Howie is complaining that he was drawn offside, and they pointed an accusing finger at Elway.
Illegal start on the quarterback.
You betcha.
On the defense. 5-yard penalty.
You can't do that. You can't make that kind of a motion. You can't do anything that is an obvious an attempt to draw the lineman offside.
John Elway's back in the shotgun formation.
Now watch this. See that movement?
Yep. That's a good call by the officials. That's a good call because that's clearly what brought Howie Long offsides. John's going to complain bitterly that just isn't his intent, but nonetheless, that sharp movement like that as a quarterback, you're not allowed to make it.
That shoulder hunch.
152. Return the field clock to 152.
They're putting 12 seconds back on the clock. 1:52 to play in the third quarter. Here's another look. Sometimes you get away with this move.
Sometimes you do, but the good officials will catch it. Watch John Elway. Now, this is in conjunction with making a hard count. Watch his body twitch and his hands come together. Now, it doesn't look like much when you're looking at it in slow motion, but at the same time, if he goes hut like that and makes that movement, hey, in the books, that's a foul.
So it's 3rd and 11 from the 49-yard line after the penalty. Look out on the blitz, and Elway gets sacked back at the 41-yard line. Coming flying through that time, Malcolm Taylor, who is the backup to Bill Pickell at nose guard.
And he wasn't even blocked. A serious miscommunication in the Bronco offensive line. You just don't turn the defensive end loose. That's where Malcolm Taylor was lined up. Denver unraveling a little bit here.
So now Brown, who has fallen down the last 2 times he's attempted to field punts.
We'll give Horan some credit for that. I mean,
absolutely.
He's unleashed a couple boomers.
And this one is another boomer, a beauty. And this time Brown lets it go, and look at this. It's out of bounds at the 3. Horan has had a 70-yard punt, a 67-yard punt, and now a 56-yard punt out of bounds at the 3.
And that's the best of the bunch. You get a net 56 out of bounds.
You hear it from a lot of deep men when they come here for the first time. Punt return men. That ball seems to hang up in this high air forever. Kickers love to kick here. They love to kick the field goals here.
I can win a trip to Hawaii with a performance like that. Make your reservations for the Pro Bowl. You can't do it any better than Horan has this evening. Raiders begin from the 3. 1:09 to play, third quarter. Schrader, that line does its job, and he hits Fernandez 40 to the 50-yard line and tackled from behind by Simon Fletcher. Swerving Mervyn Fernandez, a terror in the Canadian League. Raiders signed him to a big contract. Last year, he was a little overweight. He's lost 15 pounds, and a big gainer here of 48 yards.
And what a bullet, Frank, by Jay Schrader. Perfect pass.
Zone defense, you see underneath is Mark Haynes, and Schrader threw it in there absolutely into the seam, and then he just did it all. Mervyn Fernandez, he had great years up in the Canadian Football League. Injured last year, and maybe he's coming into his own.
At the 49-yard line, Marcus Allen in motion, and the pass is thrown out of bounds way over the head of Willie Gault.
Smart move that time by Jay Schrader. As he had got ready to let that ball go, he saw Jim Ryan had settled underneath Willie Gault. No way to get that, and I'm telling you, mid-stride, he let that ball go high and throw it away. Big-time play by Jay Schrader.
Burline sending in the signal, and Schrader checking it off his wrist.
He looks at the wrist. He makes sure he has it down. The proper formation. He knows what he can change from that. It's all on the wrist.
Second and 10 out of the shotgun from the 49. And he steps up and steps through the defense and is close to a first down at the 39-yard line. Ball loose, but after he was downed.
I think they're going to give him the first down. Let's see where they put this, but it looked like he was far enough over.
It'll end the quarter in any event. Hantak looks over, and he's going to measure. And so the third quarter will come to an end as they take a look as to whether or not the Raiders have picked up a first down in a big quarter.
Third draw of the
for
night
the Raiders
that they have run Schrader on.
And we'll tell you about it when we come back to Denver after this message about an upcoming show on ABC and a word from your local station. Fourth quarter, Al Michaels, Frank Gifford, Dan Dierdorf, and what was a rout and a laugher for Denver is all of a sudden a football game. After the third quarter, it's 24-14. When we left you for the break between quarters, as Hantak and Reeves have a few words, they were measuring for a first down. It was a first down, and there are the numbers through the first 45 minutes.
And as you look at those numbers over on the Raiders side, the vast bulk of that was accomplished in the third quarter. Of their 239 for the entire game, almost all of it came in quarter number 3.
198 because they had 41 at the half. That's not too bad.
No, not at all.
First down, L.A. 39-yard line. They trail by 10. They keep it on the ground. They give it to Marcus Allen, and he fights his way forward for a gain of about 6, and he's stopped by the nose tackle, Greg Cragen.
You know, one might well ask, what are they doing differently? They're not doing anything differently. They have just come out with a little bit of a different attitude, a tougher attitude. They have calmed down. They've eased off the mistakes. And Denver, I think, I can understand it. 24-0 at halftime. Now you're starting to think, well, let's get the statistics going for me. They let up a little bit. This whole thing is flip-flop.
I'll tell you what got him started when John Elway throws up that duck out of his own end zone.
And they cashed in on the pass to Steve Smith. Second down, 4. Schrader rolling. Fletcher chases him. Throw incomplete. Walked the nearest to it, covered by Haynes. Third and 4.
Simon Fletcher all over the place tonight. We documented in the first half how he was playing the run from a defensive end. He plays linebacker, lined up a defensive end, went back into coverage and made an interception. Now flushing Jay Schrader out of the pocket and forcing an incomplete pass. I think Simon Fletcher gets the versatility award tonight.
Good move last year on the part of Danny Reeves. They moved him from a defensive end to a linebacker. He can do both.
He's doing the types of things Mecklenburg does. Third down, 4. Schrader and Christensen interference. All over him was Kevin Guidry, rookie out of LSU. The rookie defensive back had Christensen wrapped up.
Well, you like to play that tight end a little tight, but not quite that tight.
He had an interesting dilemma because if he had not have been on him that close, Schrader probably could have got the completion to a sure-handed Christensen. He's forced to throw it low because he sees Guidry. Guidry is there too early. Obvious foul, and it keeps the Raider drive alive.
His big mistake there was not so much in timing, but it was instead of making a play for the football, he made a play for Christensen's body. Yeah, if he makes a play for the football, you could equate it into being good coverage. But when he just throws his arms around Christensen's hips, then he's going to draw that flag. I mean, that's a rookie mistake that Guidry, I'm sure, will be told about and hopefully won't make in the future.
Raiders first down at the 26-yard line. This drive began at the 3. And Brown on an end around, well executed. To the 14-yard line. He stopped by Greg Cragen.
Turns into a running back. Excuse me, Dan. He turns into a running back so quickly. He did so much of this at Notre Dame. Comes back and gets the ball in reverse. You have any kind of misdirection going, and they are reading Marcus Allen, number 32. You get a hesitation, and you get a little bit of a gap. But he just turns into a fine running back.
Steve Smith laid a nice block on that play. He's the man who scored 2 touchdowns. That's Allen in motion. Smith is the fullback. Stays in the block. Then Schrader. And Schrader helps to move the pile down to the 10-yard line.
I don't know how much of that was Jay, but give the Raider offensive line a little credit there. I can only assume that was a designed quarterback draw again.
It wasn't pretty, but it was effective.
Yeah, or else it's one of the quickest reads in the history of quarterbacking to go back and plant and take off that fast.
In the history of read them.
He can make a busted play look better than any quarterback I've ever seen.
You know, you wonder with 4 draw plays, that would be 4 if it was a play, how long he's going to be around.
2nd and 6 from the 10. Schrader has rushed for 32 yards tonight. Heat is on. Throw is off. Intended for Smith. Rulon Jones put the pressure on. Tyrone Braxton covered Smith. 3rd down.
I think the Raiders were counting on a little misdirection to take care of Jones. It didn't work. Risky play, not even blocking a player the caliber of Rulon Jones.
He's in there for one thing, and that's to pressure the quarterback, and he did his job. Big play for the Raiders right here.
They wouldn't dare run the quarterback draw again.
Oh, don't count it out.
From the shotgun, he's flanked by Allen and Smith.
First, maybe they should. He's 0-5 from the gun.
Both backs stay in the block. And Schrader fires to the corner of the end zone. No, intended for Lofton. Castile over covering. And now Chris Barr, who's had problems this season, comes in for the field goal attempt. He has not kicked one from more than 30 yards. This one will be spotted at about the 17, so it'll be about a 27-yard attempt.
And the significance here is that this touchdown gets them within this field goal gets them within a touchdown of a tie. And this will turn the Jets up on the Broncos. The heat will definitely be a couple notches higher if Barr makes this field goal.
Spotted at the 18-yard line, and Barr's kick is good. So this drive began at the 3, culminates with 3. 28-yarder for Barr, and the Raiders trail by 7. 12:24 to go. You talk about a horse, huh? It's a hoss.
And a half.
Absolutely. 3 yards into the end zone. Ken Bell comes out with it. And he runs it back out to the 17. The ball is loose.
Ooh, and they're looking for it. They're not going to rule this guy down. Whoever comes out of here with the football is going to get to keep it.
That's Reggie McKenzie struggling.
I mean, this is nothing but a free-for-all now. Arm strength, hand strength, and the Raiders
have it. Can you believe this? The Raiders recover the fumble. And at the bottom of the pile, arms upraised, Steve Strahan.
It's nothing but a free-for-all when that ball is loose. If you don't see the officials marking it down, in other words, running up to the pile and pointing down, they're just wrestling like crazy in there because they know whoever sees daylight holding the football is going to end up owning it.
Reggie McKenzie punching that ball out. And you know what's happened now. Mike Shanahan has talked quickly to Jay Schrader. He knows Joe Collier they're in trouble right now. Joe Collier will go to the defense that he can count on the most, and Mike Shanahan, in all probability, knows what that is.
And that defense has been on the field a long time in the second half. As the Raiders have dominated, Allen to the outside, cuts it back in, and takes it down to the 12-yard line, tackled by Rick Dennison. 12 minutes remaining. Denver winning 27 consecutive games in which they've led going into the fourth quarter in the regular season.
You don't need us to tell you that that's in jeopardy here tonight. The way they have played offensively in the second half, which is doing nothing, and defensively allowing Jay Schrader to spark the Raiders offense with his passing game.
2nd and 6 from the 13. Fernandez comes in motion. Toss to Allen. An old USC play, and he takes it down to the 7-yard line for a first down. Rick Dennison makes the tackle. Reverts back to his college days on that play.
That's another back, too, who will break it back against the grain no matter what the traffic is, where you are on the field. And when you get down close to the goal line, inside the 10, inside the 15, and you break it back across the middle, you know you're going to pay for every inch of yardage you get.
Remember how we've talked in the past, guys, about after a big play, such as this fumble on the kickoff return, how quickly you see some offensive coordinators, guys calling the plays, immediately try to go to that big play down in the end zone. And you really have to admire Shanahan's play calling here. Willing to be conservative, keeping it on the ground. Marcus Allen left, Marcus Allen right, and look at the results they're getting, a first down. Good play calling by Mike Shanahan.
And I think he's thinking right with Joe Collier, the defensive coordinator of the Broncos. They, of course, have been together for the past 4 years. And there's Joe Collier, the chess game being played out.
First down, 1st and goal from the 7. Long count. Allen to the 5. Pushed back by Jim Ryan. At the top of the telecast, we mentioned, and it's unbeknownst, I'm sure, to football fans, the travails of the Raiders, the fact that they have lost 16 of their last 22 regular season games, a record equaled by the likes of the Atlanta Falcons. If they win this game, this would be a watershed game for them. If they were able to come from behind and knock off Denver under these circumstances, you talk about turning things around.
Conversely, this would drive a stake right through the heart of the Denver Broncos.
Absolutely. 2nd and goal at the 5. End around again. Brown to the 3. Ryan breaks it up. 3rd down.
I can't get into end arounds on the 5-yard line.
Takes too long, and the defense is lined up at the line of scrimmage. It had them fooled, but they were up so close in their defense. They reacted so quickly, they stopped it for little or no gain.
Sorry, Mike, we got to take it all back what we said about your play calling. You only get one mistake with us.
Speak for yourself.
That's a tough call on the 5-yard line. Tough to make that work.
Here once again, Mike Shanahan, the former offensive coordinator for the Broncos, has got to know what Joe Collier likes on 3rd down goal to go at the 4-yard line.
And they take a timeout now.
That's their second they've used this half, is it not?
Yep. 1 remaining. 9:32 to go. 3rd and goal when we come back. He's going to need a manicure tomorrow. As he looks on, his team has erased a 24-0 deficit to make it 24-17 as they try to tie it now from the 4 on 3rd down and goal after the timeout. Brown in motion. Inside handoff. Allen, room, hurdles, and he is in. Bruce Wilkerson with the block, Marcus Allen with the move. And the Raiders are an extra point away from tying the game.
And give Jay Schrader credit because he had to handle another high snap.
And Mike Shanahan, give him credit. Had the right call at the right time. Blitz was on. Here it comes. Ryan up the middle. Good block by Wilkinson. And then Marcus Allen smells the end zone and dives into it. That's something we've seen Dallas run with confidence in a great running back. Instead of a pass, you go with the draw. They do it over and over with Herschel Walker.
Who'da thunk it?
Yeah, Barr with the extra point, 9:26. Not only have they erased it, they've erased it in less than 20 minutes. 9:26 still to play. Early in the fourth, 24 all. If you are just rejoining us, we ain't lying. It's 24 all. And if you left us at halftime when it was 24-0, this game is tied as the kick comes down to Ricky Nattiel at the 3-yard line. And he's wrapped up at the 20. And Ron Brown makes the tackle. You know, it's amazing. Who would have believed, of all things tonight, what we thought was that academic botched timeout by Denver at the end of the first half, costing them a field goal attempt, is now a very significant play.
And the John Elway wounded duck, as Dan touched on, threw it away, 24-0 lead. Bang, they turn it into a touchdown.
But take both those things by Denver, throw them out, give the Raiders a great deal of credit.
Oh, yeah.
Being able to come back from a 24-0 deficit, playing as bad a half of football as I've just about ever seen. A great deal of composure by Mike Shanahan's team here tonight.
Two different games, first half and second half. From the 21-yard line, Elway in a dogfight now, almost has it intercepted by Lyndon King.
And I think the only thing that kept King from intercepting that is that John just threw it so hard. I mean, he threw it right into the arms of Lyndon King, but it was an MX missile coming in, and he just couldn't handle it. Elway, how do I describe his second half? Less than stellar? Looking a bit unnerved.
How fast has it taken the Raiders to catch up? 24 points in 15 minutes and 10 seconds. That's 10 seconds more than a quarter. Still a ton of time left. 9-12. Second and 10. Sideline route. That's caught by Johnson. He's wrapped up there by Haynes.
Another Elway bullet. And Haynes had absolutely great position on Vance Johnson, and I don't think he thought Elway could get it in there that quickly. He was in perfect position. Elway just rifled it. Let's take a look at Haynes challenging him right at the line of scrimmage. And Johnson would take it to the outside. Haynes is right there. Just smoke on that ball, and nothing Haynes could do anything about it.
Smart play, though, by Haynes that time, realizing that by the position of Johnson's body, he couldn't go through him to the football. He ends up letting him make the catch rather than take the penalty.
On first down, here is Tony Dorsett. And he goes to the other side to the 40 and knocked down at the 47-yard line. So the story within the story, as Dorsett chases Brown, he's stopped here by Anderson.
And if he's not stopped by Eddie Anderson, he may go.
And that so seldom is effective. Here he comes, John Elway, the complete football player, even with the braces on the knee, tries to get in there for the block. And Dorsett, well, who knows, maybe a few years ago, all the way, Dan. But he does get the first down on a great effort.
If Elway touches Anderson, that's a clip all the way. John Elway's helmet was clear behind Eddie Anderson, but
he is now 2 yards away from moving past Brown.
I think of more importance right now to everyone in the orange jerseys is the Denver offensive team putting some sort of a drive together, chewing up some clock and getting some points.
And Denver takes a timeout here at the 48-yard line. So 7:44 to go in the fourth quarter. Sort of an unusual spot for a timeout after a first down at their own 48-yard line.
I guess if you're Tony Dorsett, though, if you're going to move ahead of Jim Brown, why not do it in a meaningful situation?
Sure.
Why do it in a 24-0 ball game, which is what it was at halftime, in a meaningless mop-up capacity? I'd like those yards, if I was Tony Dorsett, to be some yards I gained when my team really needed it. And man, do they need it.
I think Dan Reeves would take it any way he could get it at this point.
Oh, Reeves would have been happy with the mop-up.
He thought he had one going, I think, for a while. All of a sudden, the Elway interception that should never have happened. 7 points, and the Raiders a different ball club entirely here in the second half.
Well, I think it's almost a situation now that he who makes the first mistake is going to lose the ball game.
First and 10 from the 48. Fake toss to Dorsett. Elway fires, caught, Natil. First down, 30-yard line. Tackled by Haynes.
It may not be Elway's greatest game, but he shows you the extra element he brings to an offense. His key receiver, number 82, the man he looked for first, was well covered once again by Mark Haynes. Nevertheless, he pulls up, has the time. He's looking now for Johnson, who's covered by Haynes. Has time. Now he's going to run. Now he's going to throw, and he has time to pick up Natil. That's vintage John Elway. Wow, he can beat you in so many ways.
First and 10 at the 30. Under 7 minutes to play. Slides to the 28. Matt Millen will get credit for the tackle. 6:45 to go.
Remember also, Denver certainly has one of the hot kickers in Rich Carlos in the league. And he can reach it from way out.
You see Elway give Millen a little pat on the shoulder when he hopped up. That has to be discouraging to be a defensive player, to chase a guy all around the field like John Elway. And then when you finally get a hit on him, he gets up in a good mood. You're sucking wind, and he gets up laughing, pats you on the shoulder, says, see you next time.
Carlos warming up for what he hopes is an extra point. 2nd and 7 at the 27. Dorsett. Nope, now he's going to need more than 2 because he loses 2.5. Greg Townsend. So he moved within a couple of yards of Brown, and now he's back to 4 or 5.
Big item now is hang on to the football, and of course they are expressing that every time they come out of the huddle, because the Raiders will be trying to strip it, and they're good at it.
They need some more yardage, though. If you look at the placement of the ball, we're looking at almost a 47-yard field goal for Carlos. I'm sure the Broncos would like to have it somewhat shorter than that.
3rd and 9 from the shotgun. Little shovel pass. Sewell. First down. Still on his feet at the 15 and tackled at the 12 by Eddie Anderson on the old shovel pass.
Stranahan with a great call with the draw to Marcus Allen for the touchdown. Now Danny Reeves with a super call here. You've got to anticipate the Raiders are thinking pass, 3rd down, long yardage. You let them come in, you shovel pass, you trap block it, and you give it to a man who is a good running back as well as a fine receiver.
And Frank, it's probably the highest percentage pass you could throw, because if he fumbles the ball right there, if he drops the ball, it's just an incomplete pass. It's not a fumble. So look how safe it is, and at the same time, how effective.
1st and 10 from the 12. Here's Dorsett, and he gets to about the 9-yard line. Tripped up by Lyndon King.
That should put him very close.
Yeah, he was close. He was within 2, and then he dropped the 4 back, and we'll get it from the official stats here in a moment as to what they're going to credit him with. He's back to 96, so he's 2 shy again.
Interesting dilemma for the Broncos. If he gets that second place record, will they stop the game and congratulate him? They got a drive going. They got momentum. Wonder what they'll do.
I think they're planning on it. 2nd down. 8 from the 10. Mobley goes in motion. Fake to Dorsett. Elway throws it out of the end zone.
Good play. Smart
Excellent
play. You don't want to get caught with the football and lose that much yardage. You also don't want to take a chance and throw one up where there's any chance whatsoever of an interception. The Raiders secondary all over the Bronco receivers, and Elway just dumps the ball in the stands.
Interesting call, and Natil was one of the intended receivers. That's Mike Haynes grabbing a little wardrobe as Natil tries to break it loose.
Whoa, that's defensive holding all the way. Oh, Mike Haynes got away with a big one there.
On 3rd and 8. Sewell makes the catch, tackled at the 8-yard line by Dennis Price.
Another high percentage pass. It's not going to hurt you if you are incomplete with it. You get rid of it quick to avoid the sack. and it's one that you can break in and possibly take it into the end zone.
Now Carlos with a chip shot. He hasn't missed a kick this season. 3:20 to play. Keep in mind now those timeouts. The Raiders have already used 2. They're down to 1. Broncos have 2 remaining. Carlos tonight, 1 attempt at a field goal that was good from 39. This one is a 26-yarder. Kubiak holds, and the kick is good. Carlos boots it through with 3:01 remaining in the 4th quarter, and the Broncos retake the lead.
It has been an ineffective half of football for the Denver offensive team, but they came together. They put it together when they had to. A 3-point drive, giving them the lead. And the guy making it happen was this guy, John Elway, moving out of the pocket either to the right, to the left, throwing it away when he had to, running it for just a couple of yards. A sound offensive drive that time by the Broncos.
Did you see him walk out on the field congratulating not his wide receivers, not his running backs? He went out there and he congratulated that offensive line. He worked his way right down the line. Billy Bryan, Keith Bishop. He's the leader of this ball club in many ways.
Every way.
One by example.
3:01 left in the game. Again, the Raiders just have 1 timeout in the 80s. Isn't that amazing? With the type of lead we saw rung up tonight, teams are 80-1 when leading by at least 24 points at the half. 80-1. Raiders erased it, but now they're down by 3 again.
I knew that, by the way.
Yeah, I'm sure. Who was the one?
Green Bay, Tampa Bay.
Deep kick. Touchback. Brown downs it in the end zone. Out they come to the 20-yard line. Schrader.
Well, this is kind of a break for Jay, getting to start at the 20-yard line. A lot of times this half, with the misplays of Brown and Horan's punting, he's had to start inside his own 20.
Don't forget, Dan, as Al pointed out a moment ago, we've mentioned it several times, 1 timeout remaining for the Raiders. And, of course, they have the 2-minute warning to work with.
And they also have to deal now with a mile-high stadium crowd that is getting into it. And I hate it when they do this. Our booth starts to shake.
Oh, boy. And our cameras as well. At the 20-yard line, 1st and 10. Schrader, a one-hopper to goal. 2nd down. 2:52 left.
Well, that's one thing they did need, was a misfire on 1st down, leaving them with 2nd and long. One of the things the Raiders have had going for them this half is an effective ground game. Plenty of time to keep the ball on the ground. You've got the 2-minute warning coming up that's going to stop the clock in 52 seconds. I don't think they have to exclusively go to the air to get in field goal range.
You run it, you call 2 plays in the huddle at the same time and come up to the line of scrimmage quickly.
2nd and 10 from the 20. Smith makes the catch. Smith has the 1st down and a 16-yard pickup out to the 36-yard line. The big man tonight, 2 touchdown catches, picks up the 1st here out to the 36. 2:35 to go.
And funny, the guy who really extolled the virtues of Steve Smith was this morning when we talked to Dan Reeves, the coach of the other ball club. And he said, the one thing I worry about is Steve Smith and his ability to come out of the backfield as a receiver. I don't know that Dan Reeves knew how prophetic he'd be.
Clock running, 2:14 remaining. 1st and 10 from the 36. Toss to Vance Mueller. And he takes it to the 39, and that takes us to the 2-minute warning. So the Raiders, with 2 minutes to go, will have a 2nd and 7 from the 39. 1 timeout remaining, and the Broncos lead by a field goal. Mike Shanahan has discussed it with Schrader. He sends in the play. It's 2nd down and 6 from the 40-yard line. There is Barr, who has not made one from outside 30 yards. Loosening up as the Raiders try to at least get into field goal range. They have one timeout. We have 2 minutes to play. The Broncos lead by 3. 2nd and 6. Three-man rush. Screen to Marcus Allen. First down. Gets to the Bronco 48-yard line.
Good call. You've got the time. You're inside 2 minutes, but you still have the confidence to work the middle of the field.
Not so sure, Dan. However, with that one timeout remaining, they should not have had another play ready to go. It's not that difficult. You know that.
That has to be Schrader's.
Absolutely.
Recent arrival on the scene. You're right. They've wasted 10 seconds here, at least, by not having a play called at the line.
Much more than that. We're down to 123. They wasted about 30 and more on a long count from the 49. Schrader airs it out for goal. Incomplete. He'd gotten behind Castile.
They have gone at Castile all night with the fly. That time, Galt was behind Castile, and Schrader led it to the inside. And with the speed of Galt, you've got to release that ball a little more quickly. He just sprints right by Castile, and the ball thrown inside. No way Galt could get to it.
And that's the type of timing between quarterback and receiver that takes a lot longer than just 3 weeks to develop.
From the 49, 2nd down, 10. 1:14 to play. Over the middle, Smith. This time he's covered. He's tackled by Ryan. Help from Braxton. Ball at the 43. 3rd and 3 upcoming with a minute now to go.
And they're going back to huddle again. I don't believe this.
This has got to be just the unfamiliarity of Schrader with this offense, because in any game you would see the quarterback would have had called 2 plays.
3rd down, 3. At the 43. We're down to 42 seconds.
And then a long snap count on top of it.
Again. Schrader almost sacked. Underthrows Christensen, getting rid of it. 4th down and 3. Clock stop 35 seconds now. So here's your ball game on this play.
Tough situation when your quarterback is not familiar enough with the offense that he can't make multiple calls in the huddle, because they have used up 35, 40 seconds by not being able to come back up to the line of scrimmage with the play ready to go.
Twice on 2 occasions. 4th down. A long 3. They have to get to about the 39 and a half. 35 seconds. Shotgun. And they just do get the play off. And Allen makes the catch, and he's down to the 38. He does have the first down, but the clock keeps on rolling. Now they'll have to run another play. Right now.
Oh, and they wasted all that time and then took a timeout.
Ooh, 24 seconds.
Yeah, I don't understand it. They were in position to go ahead and throw the ball into the ground in maybe another 2 seconds. Instead, they wasted 7 or 8 and then took a timeout anyway.
Dan, they needed that play to give them anything they could run to the inside to stop the clock and set up the field goal.
I mean, they needed the timeout. They needed the timeout.
They needed that timeout, and they have blown away a great opportunity to use the field with their next offensive play.
Ball is at the 38, so you're looking at a 55-yard field goal, and that's way out of Barr's range. It's his career long, but that came in 1979. The one advantage he does have here is, again, the thin air of Denver, which adds 3-4 yards to your range. But it's not been a good season for him thus far. 9 years ago, his career high.
Well,
they won't even attempt a 55-yarder.
It's not quite as desperate as we make it sound for the Raiders. They do have 24 seconds. Plenty of time. It's first down, so they have no problem with the downs. Plenty of time to either run the ball, complete a pass across the middle, get your offensive team up to the huddle, and then just let the quarterback either A, throw a fly pattern down towards the end zone, or B, just step back 1 foot and throw the ball right into the ground and stop the clock.
Well, they're going to be in a position, though, if they don't get out of bounds, if they move it into field goal range, they're getting that unit on in a big, big hurry.
No, Al, they'll just take the snap and stop the clock. I mean, that's quicker than bringing in your field goal team.
You think they will, but we'll see. The way this 2-minute drill is gone, you don't know.
Oh, that'd be dangerous to run in their field goal team when you could just run your offensive team up to the ball, take a snap, and throw it into the ground. You got the downs in your favor with it being first down.
Two key guys to watch. Marcus Allen, you can give him something safe, high percentage, and he can turn it into a big one. The other one is a man that's been very quiet tonight, Todd Christensen.
Meanwhile, they put 3 seconds back on the clock. Did the referee? We have 27 seconds. First down, 38-yard line. Quarterback draw. He's bumped down at the 34. They can't stop the clock except with Schrader to line it up, throw it into the ground now. You're still looking at a 51-yard field goal from the 39-yard line. Now he throws. Gould has to get out of bounds, and he does at the 27.
Oh, but key yardage.
About a 45-yard field goal. That's a big play.
Oh, big play to Gauld. Big play to Willie Gauld instead of just throwing it out of bounds. That may be the difference. Because I think we're going to be looking now at around a 44-yard field goal, depending on where they spot the ball. But I think we're going to look at about a 44-yarder versus would have been at least a 50 or more before that completion to Willie Gauld. They're going to spot it up at the 35. Well, just short of the 35, so split the difference. This will be a 45-yarder, I guess, in the books.
Jeff Gossett holding, and Denver takes the timeout to make him think about it. And
what a long think this will be. Chris Barr not having a good year, not known as a long field goal kicker, and the ball game is his at the moment.
It's a tie.
In fact, they've been looking at kickers. They looked at John Lee during the preseason. They run a few guys into camp as well to look at them. So he has been a man on the spot. And now he's really on the spot here. 44, 45-yard attempt coming. Clock shows 8 seconds. And what looked like a route turns out to be a beauty. .44 yards. Long enough? Good. Chris Barr comes through to tie the game. A 44-yard field goal, 4 seconds on the clock. And 76,000 fall stone silent.
A perfect snap, a perfect hold. And Barr with a good follow-through. Never a doubt about this one. He just splits the uprights.
That could have been 55.
Plenty of distance, and that's where the thin air comes into play. And you think this guy likes his team's comeback? OT, folks, unless something drastic happens in the remaining 4 seconds. Chris Barr.
He's got to love it. It's been such a tough year for him. And it was absolutely splitting the uprights.
At 35, and we watched his brother Matt with Cleveland last week. And again, a guy on the bubble in a way, fighting for a job. And here's Schrader's reaction.
He engineered this comeback. He'll live to fight another day. In a couple of minutes in overtime.
And again, in overtime, there's a coin toss to determine who receives. So we'll go through that ceremony in a moment. Bell, he's going to down it there, and so that means that the Broncos have.
Why do you down the football?
The last play of the game. Let's try for it anyway.
I guess
he's figuring that Elway can throw a Hail Mary and maybe get a pass interference call and then one more.
I guess. I don't know. I sometimes I think you have a bigger chance of a big play on something like a kickoff return.
Hey, the last time he returned one, he fumbled.
I was going to say, maybe you factor in the risk, and who knows.
Well, talk about thin air. Wait till you see how far this football goes. John Elway, I'm sure, will put a little distance on this ball.
Meanwhile, crazily enough, lost within the structure of the game, and what a game it's been is Dorsett, who's still a yard shy of tying Brown and 2 yards from eclipsing him.
This might have been the only thing that will allow him to get those 2 yards tonight, because the Broncos would have run the clock out with just Elway dropping to his knees, I'm quite sure.
They line up in a pretty tight formation with only one man wide from the 20-yard line, and they're going to take their chances in winning the toss.
Well, then for sure you should have run it out of the end zone.
Yep. Well, had Bell known that, he would have run it out of the end zone. We're going to stay for the coin toss. There are a lot of people who are proponents of the fact that each team should at least get the ball once in overtime. Some in the league have considered it, but it's not been adopted. And of course, the situation is such that if you win the toss and score, game is over. Period. Other team never sees it.
Again,
These two teams have played so many overtimes the last few years.
we have to pinch ourselves to think that we're going into overtime tied at 27 when this was a 24-0 Bronco lead at halftime.
The last 2 victories by the Raiders over the Broncos in the last 8 games that they've played were both overtime victories. I mean, by the Raiders over the Broncos, they were both won in overtime.
Same coin, heads, tails, call it in the air. You calling? Heads. It is a tail. Denver, you won the toss.
Denver wins the toss.
Okay.
Broncos get it. So we go to overtime. Who'd have believed it? Back to Denver after this word from your local station. Would you say a few people in the Eastern time zone who called it a night at halftime might be a little surprised tomorrow morning?
Well, what it boils down to now is, and we mentioned this in the fourth quarter, that the team that makes the first mistake is going to lose. Nobody made a mistake. Each team, when they had the ball, put together a good drive and came up with some points, but that certainly holds true here in overtime. You cannot make a mistake here because you're not going to get a second chance.
These teams played an overtime game in 1985, and the Raiders won it on a Barr field goal, 17-14. Now Barr kicks off, and again a boomer. He's had a big night. Downed by Bell in the end zone. Here come the Bronx now, out to the 20. There it is, Denver snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. 1978, year after they went to the Super Bowl, led the Jets 28-7. Jets won it by 3.
Actually, in 1985, the Raiders won 2 games from Denver in overtime.
Meanwhile, San Diego led the Raiders 24-0 in 82, and back they came to the Raiders to win it 28-24. A little recent history. Elway at the 20. Falls on it at the 19-yard line. Can you believe what's going on?
John, I started to back out. Now you talk about a veteran battery. Bill Bryan at center and John Elway the quarterback, and how they almost misfired in overtime. Oh, I'd like to put the old blood pressure cuff on Dan Reeves right now.
He had a physical today, too.
Let's go, Johnny.
The ball appeared to be right into the hands of John Elway, and he just bounced out.
Yeah, for the moment, it was 200 over 180. Second and 11. Elway scrambles out of trouble and can only run it back out to the 16-yard line. Stopped there by Stacy Turan. 3rd down and 13. The deal in overtime now is a 15-minute period. Of course, it's sudden death. Somebody scores, game over. But if you play 15 without anybody scoring, that's the way it winds up. Each team has 1 timeout to use in OT. 1.
And a couple of misfires by Denver. A fumbled snap, a sack. They need some magic here.
Here's also where you don't want to try to force it. 3rd and 13.
Elway stepping up, staying in the pocket, nearly has it picked off. Mike Haynes had it right there and can't believe it.
Well, you don't want to, but Elway tried to force it in there, and that was a miracle that wasn't picked off.
Well, that's the second time, if you remember. Wasn't long ago, towards the end of the 4th quarter, that hit Lyndon King in the arms with a football. And now it's Mike Haynes.
And Mike Haynes with the good hands.
That ball just a little bit back behind him. Rick Massey was the intended receiver, number 85, but not even close was John Elway.
Now Haran, who's had a fabulous night, hits this one. For him, this is an average kick. Brown fields at the 38, avoids a tackle, avoids another, and a third, cuts it back inside, and is run out of bounds at the 49-yard line. So Brown, who had slipped down twice, turns this one into an 11-yard run back after a 46-yard kick.
Not being partisan, playing favorites, you're happy to see the rookie do that. He's fallen down the 2 times we've talked about. This time, he took a risk in even handling that ball and turned it in to a big play for the Raiders, gets them up to midfield.
And one of the Denver Broncos, I believe it's Sam Brady, just went flying right by Brown. Should have made that play, negating that return. But, boy, old Mother Mo is clearly on the side of the Raiders here.
And has been since halftime from the 48-yard line. Marcus Allen gets into Bronco territory to the 44-yard line. And again, reiterating what we said earlier, Raiders go away with a victory. This is one to really savor for a team that has fallen upon lean and hard times in the last year and a half. Second down, 3. Tied in overtime. 2 minutes, 5 seconds into overtime. Marcus Allen again. Last time we saw Allen, it was a Thursday night game in '86 in overtime at San Diego. A brilliant run to win the game at Jack Murphy Stadium, Frank.
Well, we recall the night that Howie Long couldn't play. He represented so much of their defense. Not a bad man to give it to when you want to be very conservative with the play you call and doing something conservative and getting something big out of it.
Third down, 3. From the 45-yard line. 3-man rush, lots of time, incomplete, intended for Christensen. Christensen looking for a flag, doesn't get it. Guidry had him covered. The rookie, who was called earlier for a penalty.
Had a call, pass interference in the 4th quarter, and this time he made an absolutely perfect play, forcing Schrader to throw the ball low.
It almost looked like defensive holding coming off the line of scrimmage.
Jeff Gossett now to kick. The Teal stands back at the 10-yard line. At the 19-yard line, touched there by the Raider Stephon Adams. And Denver will take over at that point after a 31-yard boot. Broncos from the 19. 11:56 remaining in OT. Here's Dorsett. He needs 2. He's ahead of Brown, and there it is. And they'll stop the game and give him the football. Tony Dorsett has eclipsed Jim Brown's mark. Brown, the only man to trail Walter Payton among all-time rushers, and TD has just eclipsed the great Cleveland fullback. And somehow, some way, they were supposed to have stopped the game. The officials were told beforehand if he does it to stop it, but maybe overtime's going to take precedence in this particular scenario.
And I think that's a good call.
Yep, I do too.
As much as Tony deserves the honor and the recognition, this is overtime in a critical game.
Second down, 4 from the 20-yard line. And Dorsett out to the 22-yard line, stopped by Rod Martin. You're exactly right. Had it happened in ordinary circumstances, it's time to stop the game and let the crowd do its thing.
There's no question it would be disruptive. I don't think Tony would have wanted that at this point.
Well, he would have hated it. I mean, he knows this Bronco offensive team has got to move the football to get some points. Last thing in the world he wants to do is be distracted. A good, solid night for Tony Dorsett.
Second consecutive 100-yard game.
3rd and 2 from the 22. Elway fires it, and a nice catch by Johnson out of the 27-yard line. Vance Johnson. Well, he's made some big catches tonight.
It's hard to tell you what a great catch that was. It only gained a few yards, but Elway almost put that ball through him. He tried to squeeze it in. He did that, but to hang on to it, that was a super effort by Vance Johnson with awfully soft hands to handle that.
These Bronco wide receivers should wear body armor to field the ball sometimes that John Elway sends flying their way. No quarterback in the game throws with that velocity. Nobody.
First down, 27-yard line. Dorsett again. A hard yard or two. Stacy Turan comes up to make the tackle.
See, that's another look at what I talked about earlier with Dorsett. That temptation to jump to the outside. He jumps outside there, loses a couple of yards. If things don't work out, hey, be satisfied, pick up your 2 yards, cut it back to the inside and go down with the ball.
And it's a lot better to be going 2nd and 8 than it is 2nd and 12.
Shotgun at the 29-yard line.
6 defensive backs.
Off the fingertips of Mobley and incomplete, or Clarence K rather. 3rd down and 8.
And John's struggling. The ball is floating on Elway tonight. It's like every 3rd pass is just getting away from him, and that's a good example right there. Mobley makes his break, and that pass just a little high and outside. Clarence K, let's look at it from behind.
And Clarence K coming back from a game that he missed with a very sore neck, very catchable ball.
And that'll make his neck sore once again. Jerry Robinson with a hit.
3rd and 8 from the 29-yard line. Elway tracked from behind and throws incomplete at the 45, swatted away by the hand of Dennis Price.
Greg Townsend chased John from behind and actually hit Elway on the back of the legs as he was throwing the ball. So the pressure by the Raiders, even though it was late, at least got there ultimately. And Schrader and the Raiders now get their second chance at it.
We're 5:23 into overtime. Again, if neither team scores in 15 minutes, it's not like postseason. It's over. And in fact, last year, Denver played the only tie game in the league, overtime against Green Bay. Haran's kick, good one. Brown at the 24. Flag. Big run back, but a marker down.
There's a flag down, folks. This one's coming back.
Yep, Brown's going to go all the way, but only for the moment.
Oh, but it's pretty to watch. We're going to be watching that for a lot of years.
And I wonder what he feels like.
Flag thrown at the 36-yard line. And back it comes.
Low block on return, number 44, penalized in spot of the foul.
Yep, Stephon Adams is the guy on Bell, lower part of the screen as we look at it.
Oh, he does block below the waist.
And
there's the block I saw from behind.
And a full-blown clip also.
Yeah. But a good call that time by the officials, Stephon Adams. You cannot block below the waist on a punt return, kickoff return, a change of possession, like an interception or something like that. You've got to stay up. It's the league's effort to try to alleviate the number of knee injuries you see on low blocks.
So at the 20-yard line now, 1st and 10. Christensen goes in motion and then sets up tight on the left side, and Lofton comes back the other way. Fake to Allen. Schrader airing it for goal. And knocked down at the 21-yard line. Jeremiah Castile, and that ball had to go more than 60 yards in the air.
But everybody in the stadium knew it, including the Bronco defensive backs. I mean, Schrader is really telegraphing, A, where he's going with the ball, and B, he's letting everyone know that he doesn't really care whether the guy's covered or not.
Jeremiah knew it when Galt came off the line of scrimmage. They've tried it about a half a dozen times tonight, and Jeremiah is earning a trip to Honolulu.
Beautifully played by Castile. Beautifully played. That's as good as a corner can do it.
Well, pretty much Schrader's history. He's been a big play bomber through his career from the 20-yard line. Allen for about 7. Schrader coming into the game tonight, he'd averaged 14.4 yards a completion, and that's extremely high among active players who played for some time. Only Steve Grogan would have a higher career average.
You guys remember where Jeremiah Castile fits into Bronco history, don't you?
The stripping of the ball last year.
Exactly right.
Against Cleveland.
He's the one that stripped the ball from Ernest Biner.
Absolutely.
Saved the game for the Broncos, and doing a pretty good job of saving it here tonight as well. A cast-off, a guy that was waived by Tampa Bay.
Dennison comes off. He was shaken up. Castile sets up to go one-on-one with Galt. 3rd and 3 from the 27. Schrader over the middle, batted away, knocked down by big number 90, Freddie Gilbert. And we haven't called his name tonight, and when we finally do, it's at a critical juncture.
We've got some defensive linemen for the Broncos playing pass coverage tonight. Freddie Gilbert doesn't get off the line of scrimmage in his attempt to rush the passer. Does the smart thing, falls back and gets his arms up, knocks down a pass.
8:21 left in overtime. Gossage check, Natil. Ricky at the 25-yard line. Back to the 31 he comes. Stopped by Reggie McKenzie. So the Broncos get it for the 3rd time after a 48-yard kick, 6-yard run back. Each team's had it twice. Again, if you joined us late, the Broncos were on their way to destroying the Raiders. 24-0 Denver at halftime. Raiders with a tremendous comeback, a furious comeback. And we're tied at 27 in overtime. Denver's ball. Again in Denver, Al Michaels, Frank Gifford, and Dan Deerdorf in overtime. 8:11 remaining in OT. Denver has the football. They'll spot it at the 32-yard line. It'll be 1st and 10. Again, the Broncos are huddled along the sideline to give the Raiders less time defensively to set up for what Denver will come up with on 1st down formation-wise.
This might be more effective against another team that is not coached by Mike Shanahan. He has a pretty good idea, having been the offensive coordinator for so long with them, exactly what they're going to come out with. Danny Reeves has not had a whole lot of opportunity to change things, and he's going to come out with what goes for him the best. We asked him today if the fact that Shanahan was the offensive coordinator, knew that personnel so well, would it change things for him? He said, no, it won't. And you really have to go with what works for you the best, and I'm quite sure that Danny will go with that, and I'm quite sure that Mike Shanahan has a pretty good idea what they're going to come out with.
On 1st and 10, they send Johnson to the right, Natil to the left. And they toss it to Tony Dorsett, who puts his head down and is taken down at the 40-yard line by Jerry Robinson and Matt Millen. That's a gain of 7 at the 39-yard line, 2nd and 3, and Robinson is slow in getting up.
And I think Denver would be smart to do just that. Stay with the running game. Keep hammering it at him. Run the ball on 1st down. Get some positive yardage. Set up Elway's passing game. And Jerry Robinson, feeling the effects of that collision with Dorsett that you could hear clearly all the way up here in the press box.
And the other thing Denver has going for it, of course, is a supreme field goal kicker in Carlos, who hasn't missed one this season. 7:47 left in overtime.
And the third reason, if you want to pursue it a step farther, is that the Denver passing game here in the second half has been extremely erratic.
John Elway has not been the perfect John Elway, far from it tonight. been that kind of season for John. He's off to a slow start, but Denver also knows what slow starts are all about. They had a slow start in the season of '86, got to the Super Bowl. They started slowly a year ago, and they're certainly not hitting on all gears thus far this season.
Reggie McKenzie comes in to spell Robinson at right inside linebacker, and now he sets up at left inside backer on 2nd down and 3 from the 39-yard line. Sewell in motion, end around to Dorsett. Tony has a first down. 46-yard line, loose ball at the 49-yard line, but the play was dead. Play was dead.
They're ruling him down.
Or so they ruled, at least initially.
But they say the ground cannot cause a fumble.
Well, it can't. That's a fact. The question is, was he down? Did he have the ball when he went down? From behind. Dorsett cutting up inside. Yes, he had the football when he hit the ground. Good call by the officials.
First down at the 47-yard line. Winder is back in with Dorsett. Tony back of Winder. Slithers to the outside, and it's Robinson back in the game who makes the tackle at the 50-yard line.
You know, that's only 4 yards, but what a great effort by a man who's been around as long as Tony has. He dipped inside to make it look like he was going to cut it up, as he's been doing all night. Got to the outside and then spun for another yard and a half. The ordinary back would have been dead at the line of scrimmage, or maybe even have lost a yard.
But again, it's that rather at the last minute there, Frank, than just take it out of bounds and avoid the hit. Always willing to turn it back to the inside, pick up an extra yard or two, and take the blow by the defender. I've always admired that in Tony Dorsett.
2nd down 6 from the 49. Nashville in motion. Dorsett again. Going to the outside, and Martin makes a great play. Rod Martin at the 46-yard line. That's a 4-yard loss. And it's going to make it 3rd down and 11. And it is Stacy Turan who is hurt. The safety holding his ankle. And now Turan gets helped off.
Scott Davis was their other number one.
Right. 3 number ones they wound up with.
Looked just like he may have slipped. Not appear to be any major twisting or contact.
Well, you can see, yeah, he lost his footing, and then his cleats caught. Oh, geez, that really looked tough from that angle. The side of his foot skated out from underneath him, and then his friend tried to right himself. It looks like his cleats dug in, and he rode right over the top.
That sends Fellows into the game at a corner. And also Zeph Lee comes in at safety. 3rd down, 11 from the 46-yard line. Elway working from the shotgun. Paquel can't make the sack.
Can you believe that?
Paquel comes after him again. Still can't make the sack. Finally, he throws an interception at the 50-yard line into the hands of Zeph Lee, who had just come into the game, and he takes it to the 31. So Turan gets hurt. Lee, a former running back at SC, comes in to spell him and makes an interception off a pass that Elway can't believe, and I can't believe he threw.
John scrambling all over the field, put on some exhibition, and then pulled up almost as if he got a little discombobulated, fired it right into the hands of Zeph Lee. Nobody could have been more surprised than Lee. Let's take a look at the athleticism of John Elway, but it had disastrous results at the end.
Look at that little spin to get away from Paquel. Again, everything is perfect right up until the moment he makes a decision to throw the football. And that, again, a serious error by John Elway instead of just dumping it out of bounds and punting the football away.
An irony of ironies, a year ago during the strike, Lee played with Denver against the Raiders. Here's Allen to the 27-yard line. So now they are within field goal range for Barr. Less than 5 minutes, 4:58, and the clock ticking down. Left in overtime. Elway has thrown 4 interceptions tonight.
I go back to what I said earlier, and of course this game is not lost yet. The Raiders still have to score, whether it be a field goal or a touchdown, but as I said earlier, The team that makes the first mistake, more often than not in an overtime situation, ends up losing the game.
That's the 8th interception for Elway on the season.
2nd down and 5. Smith. And now very much in field goal range. If the Raiders win this game, it would be the 3rd greatest comeback in NFL history. It would tie for the 3rd greatest to come from a 24-point deficit, which they were down by at the half. At the 20-yard line, Berline sending in the call. Elway still can't believe what he did. 1st and 10 at the 20.
I guess sometimes you can be so good at what you do, and he is, that you can believe that you can do anything. And that's a mistake.
Here's Smith. What a weird game, though. I mean, Turan gets hurt. Lee comes in, makes the intercept, comes back to play against the team he faced it during the strike last year. The ex-running back, there's Barr.
Of course, it's no sure thing that Barr would hit that field goal either. I think that Mike Shanahan would much prefer his offensive team just keep slamming it away and go ahead and score a touchdown.
2nd and 8. They come up in the eye. Allen is the tailback. Give it to Marcus. To the 16. So they're just buttoning it up. They're going to bring Barr in now, and a skirmish breaks out. And even though it's 3rd down, instead of taking a chance and fumbling or losing the ball, they're going to send Barr in to win the game.
What do you think of that call, Frank? I know that a lot of old-time coaches would roll over and say, you keep moving the football by conventional means. You don't turn it over to a kicker.
It would be 3rd down and 7. So here's Barr.
Barr better make this, or Mike Shanahan going to suffer his first real interrogation as a head coach.
35 yards out. Gossett puts it down. Barr's kick is good. And the Raiders, who won so many dramatic, unbelievable games through the years, have done it again. We revisit the 70s with this one. You go back to the Blandas and the Stablers and the way the Raiders used to pull out games. This one will be right there with them.
Very gracious, Danny Reeves going over to congratulate his former offensive corner coordinator, Mike Shanahan. But this was an almost unbelievable turnaround. The touchdown at the very beginning, it was a terrible first half by the Raiders. They turned it around with a little bit of help from the Broncos. And you've got to wonder what effect this game will have on the Raiders down the line. They got the quarterback that they have been wanting. We'll see them November the 28th against Seattle, and it'll be interesting to look back and see what's happened.
And on November 28th, they'll also have some guy named Jackson.
Yeah, a left fielder from Kansas City will be joining them by then, too.
And he loves Seattle.
You really have to feel for this guy. He is everything to this franchise. Without him, the Denver Broncos, maybe not even a playoff team. And it's kind of tough to have a lot of the responsibility for this loss fall on his shoulders.
Just win, baby, is that man's credo. Any way you can.
I think he's stunned. I don't think he can believe it.
Pretty amazing. And he's seen some amazing, dramatic come-from-behind wins in his time. But this one is right at the top. Schrader looking on as Barr moves it through.